had the cat coming after Pearl at the last minute, so I had to pick her up. Okay. All right. Are we on? We're on. Happy Friday, everyone. My name is Lacey Jane. Hopefully you can hear me. And this is Criminally Confident. Today is Friday, January 30th. And it is day 2 back from vacation. So as I explained during yesterday's stream, we're kind of working back the algorithm. So probably going to be a little bit sparse today, but we're here and I'm so excited to have you here. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to hit the like button. And while you're at it, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. It helps with the algorithm, and we are very close to hitting our next major goal in terms of growth for the channel. So with that being said, I am going to go ahead and get this started. And I accidentally, on my thumbnail, I typed in Daniel Banfield and not Brendan. So I corrected it on the description of the video, but still, it's like, gotta figure that out afterwards. Okay. Let's watch what we haven't watched yet, which is the opening statements. We did not catch that yesterday. So we were just watching the dude's testimony, Brendan's. He looks like a Daniel. I can't help it. Hi, Daniel. Welcome. I am a bit late today. Just a little bit. My the drain, like the sink aerator, what are those called? It's noises. So oh God, here comes Coco. Coco, no. Okay, I'm gonna start the video. Press play, Lacey. Press play. Okay. Hey, make sure to hit the like and subscribe, guys. Coco, don't bite.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being punctual today. I really do appreciate it. Just a reminder, these seats you're in now are the seats you'll be in for the duration, okay? All right. Opening statements from the Commonwealth?
Just a moment, Judge.
Coco, just lay
Hi, so. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate that you all came back. I know yesterday was a short day. Today might be a long one, and you're in for several more following that, but we'll try to keep your attention and ask you to please remember that your job here is to listen to the evidence, right? Take notes if you need to. Follow along with the details. There will be many, and then be thoughtful in how you consider this evidence when it's time to deliberate. We're here today because Brendan Banfield, the man seated behind me, killed his wife, Christine Banfield, and another man named Joseph Ryan. Those two individuals had no reason to know each other, but for the plotting and planning of Brendan Banfield. Christine, back in 2022, was 37 years old. She was an ICU nurse working at Inova Fairfax. She was married to Brendan, who was then 38, and they had a daughter, 4-year-old Valerie. Christine worked odd shifts. She was a nurse. If any of you know what nurses' hours are, she could work nights. The schedule was irregular. It didn't occur with a 9 to 5 pattern. So regular daycare was not an option for the family. They hired an au pair, Juliana Perez Magalhães. She was from Brazil. She was 22 years old when she joined the family. She provided care while Brendan traveled for work and Christine worked her nurse's hours. The family lived in the Reston area of Fairfax County at 13230 Stablebrook Way. You'll hear that address referenced. You'll see pictures of the home. You'll have the opportunity to understand what the layout of the house was, as it is very relevant to what happened in February of 2020. He talked about hiring a hitman, finding someone to kill her for money. But he was concerned that that would tie back to him, that there would be too much evidence against him and that he could end up at risk. So they put it into action. Brendan created a FetLife account. If you're not familiar with it, it's a social networking app for people interested in fetishes, sexual kink.
Okay. Ow, don't bite me.
Seeking fulfillment of this stranger rape fantasy. He and Juliana spent weeks chatting with potential victims, searching for just the right guy who would follow Brendan's plan to a T. Because remember, this plan hinged on several things. Christine never knowing that it existed, and Christine never being expected to meet with her potential fake rapist. In this community of people, there weren't many takers for such a risky plan. It had red flags all over the place. But by January 24th, 2022, Brendan had found his target, Joseph Ryan, posting as Taco Supreme 7000. Joe engaged in friendly conversation with who he thought was an attractive woman new to kink. Brendan, posting as Christine, spent a month creating this relationship with Joe that would eventually lead to Joe's murder. Meanwhile, other things were going on to prepare for this murder. Brendan bought Juliana a gun and took her to the shooting range to teach her to shoot. Brendan had Juliana help him test out the soundproofing of the new windows that had been installed at Stablebrook Way. By the time this plan was ready to be hatched, Joe was fully on board. He had not questioned any of the asks of him. He had continued to engage in this relationship and appeared to be the perfect willing victim. Brendan created the narrative that Christine desperately wanted to be raped. Posing as Christine, he told Joe what to do. Come to the home in Reston. The door will be unlocked. Christine will be asleep in bed. Come straight upstairs, cut off her clothing, tie her, rape her. Simple and fun. That was how it was posed. Joe was willing to follow these rules that Brendan set out posing as Christine. They would not meet in person beforehand. Joe's phones would be left in the car. Joe was to bring a knife, zip ties, chains. And most importantly, he was not to stop. Even if she looked terrified, even if she was calling for help, he was to follow through because that's what she really wanted. On February 24th, 2023, Brendan Banfield's birthday, the plan was put into action. Knowing that Christine had the day off, Brendan and Juliana arranged a fake outing for the zoo a fake outing at the zoo for Valerie. Juliana and Valerie packed a lunch, prepared for this fake outing. Christine, still in bed, asleep, at 6 a.m., Brendan takes her phone and Valerie downstairs. He chats with Joe to confirm a 7:20 arrival for the execution of the fake rape. And Brendan then disables the door lock, preventing it from automatically locking, turns off Christine's phone, and puts it in a drawer in the kitchen where she couldn't possibly find it to call for help when she finds an intruder in her home. Brendan leaves the house, followed shortly by Juliana. Brendan drives to a nearby McDonald's. Juliana waits in the cul-de-sac. The plan to give a call out to Brendan as soon as she sees Joe. Valerie's in the back seat, and Juliana has a gun in her pocket. When Joe arrives, Juliana calls Christine's cell phone first to create a record of a fake warning, even knowing that the phone is turned off. She then calls Brendan to let him know that Joe is in the house. Brendan leaves the McDonald's, drives directly to the home, meets up with Juliana, and with Valerie in tow, they re-enter the house through the basement. Juliana, nervous, screws up the plan and calls 911 too early. She hangs up as soon as Brendan's giving her the signal that this wasn't the plan. They leave Valerie in the basement. They sneak up the stairs to the bedroom where they hear Joe Ryan and Christine. You'll hear all of this from Juliana, but we're not asking you to believe her alone. You'll hear from witnesses and experts about all of the evidence that corroborates the facts presented. You'll see the FetLife chats. You'll see the Telegram messages. You'll hear and see the phone call details. You'll hear the 911 calls where Brendan admits to shooting Joe. You'll see body-worn camera video from the responding officers. You'll see photos of the scene and the physical evidence collected. And that's where you should focus your attention. Because while Juliana presents us with the narrative, that story that we wouldn't necessarily know but for her details, it is the blood evidence that you can rely upon without a doubt. The blood cannot lie. And the blood puts Brendan Banfield standing over Christine, stabbing her in the neck until she died. With that evidence, we will ask you to find Brendan Banfield guilty of these murders, the associated charges of neglecting his child, and of creating a danger for her in that home. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sands. All right.
Thank you.
Defense, you're,
I think I can probably see.
no. Yes.
You do.
Rats. Never mind. Had to do with blood evidence in yesterday's testimony. Nothing of, grave importance. The cat.
Or is that one?
No, you want to check Ms. Sands?
Here, I can check. Yep. I did, because I didn't want it to make all the banging noises. There you go. Green, let's go.
So, you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
You can put that in your pocket if you want.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we had a long day yesterday, and we talked about a lot of the issues that would possibly come up, and they're going to come up today in terms of the story that the Commonwealth just told you, and what I think you should be looking out for in terms of the evidence. There's some interesting things that, in order to assess, first of all, what they're saying, and second of all, the evidence that's going to be before you, is you have to look at certain time. You're going to hear a timeline of events.
That's a
and
sweetheart.
Evidence that you'll have an opportunity to look at, where she was arrested in October of 2023. And the whole reason she was arrested was to flip her against my client. You'll hear that evidence from someone other than her and other than me. And they tried, and they tried. In a correspondence that she wrote to my client on January 1st, that was given to him, She says, they want you. All they want is to get you in this case. They want me to say things that aren't true. They want me to say things that I did that aren't true. They offered me a misdemeanor. She declined a misdemeanor, facing second-degree murder at the time. And then as the case went on, it became very clear that they wanted him so badly that they were willing to do anything. They made offers, not as good as a misdemeanor, but as time went on, for a manslaughter, suspended time, but she had to testify against Brendan.
Snoring so loud.
You'll hear there were at least 4 or 5 times during that year leading up to Brendan Banfield being charged, where they came to her, they went through her attorney, and they offered that deal that she now stands to have taken. Now, why is it that she wouldn't have taken that then? Well, we heard in the first instance, she said, they're asking me to say something that isn't true. And so let's look at another timeline that I think is appropriate. After she was arrested, she had a preliminary hearing in April of 2024. And you'll see communications that show real anxiety in terms of what was going to happen. After the preliminary hearing, then the first trial is set for July of 2024. Her attorney continues the case against her will. There's correspondence that says, I wanted to go forward. I wanted to show my innocence. Continued to October, I believe. No, to November 12th. During that point in time, she'd lost trust in her attorney. She lost hope because he was the only person for someone who was thousands of miles away from her home, from her family, from the people that supported her. She lost hope in the person who was there to represent her. Whether that's true, whether that's right or not, I don't know. But what you'll see in this timeline that I'm going to create for you through evidence is that she was upset. And she said at one point, I can't believe he continued this case. I didn't want that. I don't want that. I just want to go forward. He better not do that again. We go through a period of time into September. The stress and the anxiety starts to really ramp up for her. Approaching her November 12th court date. My client gets arrested. In her mind, she loses even more hope because he was the person who was on the outside who she really was depending on. They had an affair. You're not going to get any disputes from us. But he played a supportive role to her while she was in jail, while they tried to do their little experiment on what would she take in order to come forward and tell a story. You'll hear in October, she went for emergency surgery, had a gallbladder surgery, spent 2 weeks in the hospital. And soon after she got out, she received word that her attorney was going to continue the case again because he needed to get a digital forensics examiner.
Why are we talking about her and not him?
Review the evidence that hadn't been done up until that point. That was the last straw. Whatever deals that had been rejected, the most recent time was September 30th. Whatever deals had been rejected, she was in for now. One of the deals was suggested by her attorney after she was upset with him in July. They get together, they arrive at this, and they have recording of the questions that they're asking her during what they call the recant. You're going to hear some of those recordings. Now, any of you who have any sort of investigative roles in anything that you do, when you're talking to someone who's deciding to flip, you don't just take their word for it, you challenge them. Investigators challenge the statements that are being made. And so October 25th marks the first day that statements were made. Many of you may have seen that because it's showing up on media. And you hear someone asking her questions and then she answers those questions. Well, what we're going to be able to show you is that those answers are wrong based upon other evidence that we have in this case. But no one ever challenged her. No one ever questioned her. And so in order to have this narrative that, this story that you received, Juliana Perez Magalhaes is at the center of all of it. She's going to talk about where the gun was at one point, and then I think in the next recant she says it was a different situation with the gun. She said she ran into the bedroom and used the combination on the safe to get the gun, and then she had it been given to him by, or it was given to him by Brendan Banfield. I'm sorry, given to her by Brendan Banfield. You're going to hear there are significant differences in many of the things that she's providing to the Commonwealth, some of which are changing even up to most recent prep sessions, which we had access to of December 30th. So the question will be, what's the final statement? I think we're all going to get that. But you're also going to see what she's done all along the way. Now, just get a sip of water.
He needs it. His dry mouth is kind of making me uncomfortable.
Let's just talk a little bit about some of the other things that are going on in this case. And I think you'll find this through the evidence. So what essentially, and you may have heard it in media, is there's a theory called catfishing. And catfishing, for those who don't know it, and people more experienced and more expert than I will be able to tell you specifically, essentially is assuming the devices of someone in order to get something done is the easy, quick. There's probably more sophisticated explanation for it. But what they're saying is Brendan Banfield assumed his wife's devices, his computer, her phone, any other devices, in order to take on take on her persona in order to invite this gentleman, Joe Ryan, in. Catfishing is a theory that requires a conclusion that Christine Banfield gave up her devices. The Commonwealth's experts have concluded from the moment that the devices were examined and extracted that she did not give up her devices. And so then started the turmoil within the police department that I think is going to come out here. I doubt it'll be in the Commonwealth's case. But there were people within the command staff who were trying to change what the experts said about Christine Banfield's devices. They were trying to say that Christine Banfield did give up these devices or was away when those devices were being used. But you're going to have a conclusion that was from the very early moments that she had not given that up. Now that's significant because all of the things that Juliana Perez Magalhaes has talked to you about is inextricably intertwined with catfishing. And so you're going to hear evidence from their expert witness. You're going to hear evidence from an expert witness that I have that concurs in their expert witness's findings.
On catfishing? Are they from
In
MTV?
the world of digital forensics, they're just saying digital forensics doesn't lie.
Oh,
People-
never heard that one before.
And there are going to be plenty to see. You're going to see manipulation within the police department where if those that wanted the catfishing theory, if the line homicide prosecutors, homicide detectives didn't agree with this theory, they were transferred. When this case started, there were 12 people in the homicide squad. As this case goes to trial now, there's only 4 of those 12 there. Important ones that were removed in part because they didn't agree with the people that peddled the catfish theory. The lead homicide detective, the digital forensics detective. And this was back in late 2024. I don't know how many of you are familiar with criminal prosecutions and investigations. I was a prosecutor myself here in Fairfax.
Really?
I've never experienced a homicide investigation where the lead homicide detective was moved prior to a trial. Digital forensics, I probably aged out of digital forensics, but that's a very important aspect of this. So I couldn't say personally whether that would have happened back in my day, but
Sierra, where are you seeing the Brendan or the Daniel at? Are you seeing it in the description of the video? Because I changed it at the name of the video. I just want to make sure I change that elsewhere because it's probably not helping my algorithm either. So I want to make sure I get that changed wherever you're seeing it. That's what I said yesterday. All right, I'm going to keep this going and we'll discuss it in the comments.
there are factors here that I think that haven't been brought forth by the Commonwealth. And in my efforts at presenting evidence, I'm going to be trying to bring that to light. As I indicated, there are serious timelines. There's a vulnerable person who's open to pray for what it is that they need. And I would respectfully suggest that Juliana Perez Magalhaes is the linchpin to all of that. Now, ultimately, it's the evidence. It's not what I say. It's not what the Commonwealth says. But I say these things to you so that your ear is ready, because you're going to see a presentation of a horrible, tragic, awful event for everyone involved.
Oh, no.
And there's no disputing that. And as I said earlier, we're not disputing, you won't hear any dispute as to the relationship between Brendan Banfield and Juliana Perez Magalhaes. But there's an awful lot more to look for, ladies and gentlemen, and that's what I'm asking you to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Carey. All right, your first witness, Ms. Sands.
Judge, it's going to be Alicia Dale.
Thank you, Ms. Brisley.
I didn't realize that I can't change it until after the video, guys.
Jennifer, we had spoken to your client about his shield for the screen.
I agree.
Okay. You don't have it as of now.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, you know what? What kind of computer is that?
Say
What,
I
who
was
is
going to just turn it this way, I think the camera angle.
Do you want to use mine?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. So that was super lame. That the very first witness is the custodian. Oh, can you guys hear me? Your browser has lost connection with your screen share audio. Okay. Whatever that means. Let me make myself bigger. So the very first witness that the state brought up was the custody of records. Like, what? Also, I can't change the video description, and that is yet another reason why I need to make a specific change with my channel, but that's neither here nor there. So what we're going to do right now is listen to the testimony of the au pair. Oh, let me make it bigger for y'all. All right, maybe check your email. It's a big deal. Okay, hold on. It's a Friday. Okay, I thought she was like a knockout. Is that awful to say? Like, the photos of her make it seem like she was drop dead gorgeous. So let's see if this works, because I recycled the browser, whatever it's called. So hopefully you guys will have volume. Let me know. It's playing right now, please. There's no sound or talking yet, but I can hear like mumbles in the background. All right, can you hear it? Maybe? Anybody? Trying to figure this out for you guys. Do I restart the browser entirely? I'm looking for it. All right. I'm going to look on this. That makes no sense.
Yes,
What's his name?
Brendan Banfield,
When did you meet him?
back in October 2021, 22.
When did you meet him?
Hmm?
When did you meet him?
Can you specify? Sorry.
When did you first meet him?
Okay, thank you.
In person when I first came to the States, and before that, through a video call with the family.
Okay. Do you recall what month or year that was?
When I came to the States,
Yes.
it was October
Do you know what year?
2021.
Okay. And when you first met Mr. Banfield, what was your relationship to him?
It's professional. He was my boss.
And you said he was your boss.
Yeah.
What was your job?
I was their au pair.
And so you said you worked as an au pair. What does that mean?
Au pair is like a nanny position, but somebody comes from another country, providing care for their kids, and in exchange they live with their family. And yeah.
Okay.
basically.
Do you get paid to be an au pair?
Yes,
How much?
$200 a week.
And how long of a stay did you have as an au pair?
We can have from a year to 2 years, but as an au pair, I stayed for a year.
Okay. And did you, so you arrived, you said you arrived in October of 2021, and you said you stayed for a year?
Yeah,
And then did you extend that stay?
yes.
And how long did you extend the stay for?
I think I might have extended for another year.
Let's talk about when you lived with the Banfield family and worked for them as their au pair. Where did you live?
I lived in their house, in their home.
Okay. And who lived there with you?
It was Brendan, his wife Christine, and their daughter.
And we know who Brendan is.
Sorry
Who's
about
Christine?
that, guys, for anyone
Christine
who's
was Brendan's
watching
wife.
replay.
And you said their daughter?
Yeah,
What was their daughter's name?
Valerie,
What was your life like with them?
with the family.
Yeah, when you first got there, what was it like?
It was kind of a period for me to adapt to the family, to my job, to the country. But I was very welcome, I guess.
And what was Brendan like when you first came to live with the family and be their au pair?
We barely spoke, like, my relationship was mostly with Christine and Valerie. Brendan and I barely spoke at all. It was just,
Okay. What was Christine like?
Christine was very friendly, very welcoming, very fair. Yeah,
Did you spend time with her and spend time with Valerie together?
yes,
And did you spend time on your own with Christine?
maybe a couple times going to a store or, yeah.
Do you recall if Christine had a blood disorder?
I heard about it, yes.
And do you know the name of it?
I do not know.
Do you know if she took any medication for it?
As far as I know, no.
What was Valerie like?
Valerie is very loving, very caring.
She's like
She
2,
just,
right?
How old was Valerie when you met her in 2021?
she was 3.5, I guess.
I'm sorry, say that again.
3.5.
And were there any other children that were living in the Banfields home while you lived there too?
No,
Do you know if they had an au pair before you were their au pair?
yeah,
Who was that?
it was Amanda.
And when you began working for the Banfields, do you need a minute? When you began working for the Banfields, do you remember what their jobs were?
Yeah,
Do you know what their jobs were?
man, Christina was RN, and Brenna was working, I guess, as an investigator for the IRS.
At some point, while you were working for the Banfield family, did your relationship with the defendant change?
Yes,
How did it change?
it became sexual, physical relationship.
And do you recall when the relationship changed?
It was August 2022.
And did you keep the relationship, this new relationship with the defendant, did you keep this a secret?
For my part, some of my friends, they knew because I told them, and I used to post on my Instagram.
What was she
But for
posting?
his part, yeah, it was a secret.
Okay, you said you told some friends about it.
Yeah,
Do you remember which friends you told?
I told Beatrice about it and Pamela.
And did you take any photos of you and the defendant after you began a romantic or physical relationship?
Yes,
And you said you had posted some things to social media?
yes.
Okay. I am going to show
It is
you a couple of photos.
Like a boring first witness, right? Like I would have done her.
And if I could have this view be to the witness and counsel only, please.
I made
Yes, ma'am.
changes to the video description. So hopefully that helps.
I'm going to
Days
show
of
you
art are
Commonwealths
always
51, 52, 53, and 54. This is 51, 52, 53, and 54. Do you recognize these photos?
Yes, I do.
And how do you recognize them?
It's me and Brendan.
And are these social media posts that you made?
Yes,
Judge, at this time, what I would ask the court to do is admit these as Commonwealths 51, 52, 53, and 54.
All right, any objection? Okay, 51, 52, 53, and 54 in evidence.
And we can publish the first one to the jury. Can you tell us who's under the emoji here?
It's Brendan.
And then a couple of these have noise.
Let's see it. What I was saying is Fridays are always my slowest
And
day,
then this one, Commonwealth
So,
53.
plus vacation.
Can you describe who this is?
It's Brendan's hand,
And whose leg is that?
my leg.
And the date on the photo that is posted, is that the date that the photo was taken?
Yes,
And this photo here, Commonwealth 54, who's under the emoji?
it's Brendan.
Do you know when this photo was taken
It's from the same day as the previous picture.
as the previous one?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I want to go back to 52.
Really do this. I need you. I miss you. And now I want you.
And in that post, who is present in that post?
His person behind the emoji,
And who is behind the emoji?
Brendan.
And is it you and Brendan singing in that post?
Yes,
So you began a sexual relationship with the defendant in August of 2022
That was
when you
so
were how
rich.
old?
I was 21.
Oh, making great
And
decisions.
when this relationship began, did you ever think about how it might end?
No, I didn't really think it was serious, a relationship.
And did the defendant ever talk with you about any long-term plans for the two of you?
Not initially.
Not initially. Did he ever, though?
Yes,
When did that talk start?
I think it started after he talked about his plan.
Okay. And did he ever talk about the two of you getting married or the two of you having children?
Yes,
And do you recall when that talk began?
also after he mentioned his plan.
Did he ever talk about his relationship with his wife, Christine Banfield?
Sometimes it would come up in our conversation and he would talk about it.
And what did he say?
He used to say that she didn't seem to care about where he was, what he was doing. She didn't seem to care about him at all. And that she was helpless and just lazy.
Do you recall when he said those things?
When?
Yes.
Well, many times during our conversation when she came up.
And
She's like really nervous. Also, can that cop get out of
did he
there?
ever talk to you about
I hear the
anything else
radio.
about his relationship? Did he ever talk about getting a divorce with her?
No, he basically said divorce was not an option.
Did he say why?
Money was involved.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Money.
Okay. Anything
Wasn't-
else?
Money was involved and Valerie's custody too.
And what about those things? Did he say anything specifically about money or Valerie's custody?
Yeah, he said that he didn't want to have to share Valerie with Christine that she wasn't good for Valerie. So he wanted to have Valerie full time. And money, plus she should have more money than he would if they ever split.
And so he didn't want to get divorced. Did he tell you what he wanted to do?
Yes,
What did he say?
he mentioned his plan to get rid of her.
And you said he mentioned his plan to get rid of her.
Yeah,
When did he talk about that first?
I would say it was in October 2022.
And what specifically was his plan to get rid of her?
Initially, he didn't really know what he would do. He just mentioned that he was thinking about it, and he would think better and let me know when he thought about it. Yeah,
Where were the two of you when this first conversation took place?
New York.
And were you on a trip to New York with only him?
It was him and Valerie.
What did you think when he told you that?
I feel bad.
At first, I thought he was joking. Yeah, for me, it was a joke.
And you said that you were in New York when that conversation happened.
Yeah,
Did the three of you return to Virginia after that trip?
yes, we did.
And did he talk about this plan again after you returned?
Yeah,
And did he give you more information or more detail about what he intended to have happen?
yeah, he said he wasn't going to hire anybody because that is something that throughout investigation can be discovered easily. And that he had heard of a website called Pet Life. He's never done anything on the website, but he heard about it, and that's what he was going to do.
And did he tell you anything more about the plan at this point?
At that point, not really. He was still thinking about it.
And at the end of October,
I don't think that she's still in custody. I think from my understanding, she was given like the deal of a lifetime to time served, and it was dropped from like murder to manslaughter, and she had to give up the goods about everything. Like that was what they wanted in return. So if my understanding is correctly or is correct rather, she's out, or at least she was waiting to be released until she held up her end of the bargain, which was to testify against him. So at least that's what it was. That's the story that we got in opening arguments. So, okay.
of 2022, did you visit a shooting range?
Yes,
And did anyone come with you?
Brendan.
And most of you guys know that I usually will speed up a video, but when it deals with someone who English is not their first language, or they have a speech issue, I try to stay away from that. And that seems to be the case today. So we're going to stick with normal speed.
The first time that you went to the shooting range, do you recall signing any paperwork?
Yes.
Judge, at this point, I'm going to display a photograph. I would ask for the display to be to the witness and counsel only.
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to look at the screen in front of you. Do you have, is there a document on your screen?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm gonna scroll through this document for you slowly.
Just for the record, could you, the exhibit number of the
Oh,
document?
it is exhibit number 56.
Thank you.
Do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes.
And how do you recognize it?
It's the waiver you have to sign when you first go to the shooting range.
And did you sign this?
Yeah.
Is that your signature there on page 6?
Yes.
Judge, at this point, I'm going to ask to admit this as Commonwealth's 56 and allow for it to be published to the jury.
Any objection? All right, 56 in evidence and published.
And I'm going to just bring it back up to the top so that the jury can see it. Do you recall the date on the form?
Yeah, October 29, 2022.
And on that date, do you recall shooting a firearm?
Yes.
Do you remember if it was a handgun or a long gun?
It's a handgun.
And was the defendant with you while you were firing the handgun on that day?
Yes.
Did you ever go back to the firing range again?
Eventually, we did.
Do you remember when you went back to the firing range?
I'd say back in December.
And did you practice firing a firearm on that December visit?
Yes.
And again, what kind of firearm? Do you recall if it was a handgun or a long gun?
It's a handgun.
And was anyone with you when you returned to the firing range in December?
It's Brendan.
Judge, at this point, I'm going to ask for the view of Commonwealth 56 to be terminated to the gallery. And I am going to move to Commonwealth's 57 for the view of the witness and counsel only at this point. Do you see a photograph on your screen?
I do.
And do you recognize this photograph?
Yes.
How do you recognize it?
It's me at the shooting range.
And do you know who took this picture?
Brendan.
Judge, at this point, I am going to ask to have this admitted as Commonwealth's 57.
All right, any objection to 57? All right, 57 evidence and published.
Did the defendant tell you why he wanted to return to the firing range for that second visit?
Yes.
And why was that?
That's in case I need to use it if something goes wrong.
And what would go wrong? What was he concerned about going wrong? Had he told you more of his plan at this point?
At that point specifically, I can't really recall.
But he told you that he wanted you at the firing range because you needed, in case something went wrong.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
After the December visit to the shooting range, what, if any, additional steps did the defendant take to move his plan forward?
It was in January when he created the account on the website.
Okay. So were you present when he created the FetLife account?
Yes.
And did he use his own email address to create the account?
No, he did not.
What email address did he use?
He created a new email account for Christine and Christine's name.
And were you there when he created that email address?
Yeah. Yeah.
And do you recall what device he used to create the email address?
To her laptop,
And when you say her laptop, whose laptop are you talking about?
Christine's laptop.
And do you recall what device he used to create the FetLife account?
That was the laptop.
And when you say the laptop, are you talking about Christine's laptop?
Yes.
And do you recall the name of the profile that the defendant created for the FetLife account?
Anastasia and I.
And was there a photograph added to that profile?
Yes.
Who is the photograph of?
It's
Instagram.
Christine's body in a bathing suit.
And who added the photograph to the profile?
Brendan did.
And who typed the words for the profile?
I hear that.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Do you think it was her?
If I could have the view terminated to the gallery at this point. And I am going to ask for exhibits 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, and 65, all photographs, to be displayed to the witness and counsel only at this point.
Kiss for Cause, Red
I'm going to show you a
Ruby.
series of,
Which one? Hot pink
Screenshots.
or red?
and then I'm going to ask you about them. So this is 58, 59, 60, 61,
I'm kind of thinking the pink. Yeah.
62, 63, 64, and 65.
Right.
Do you recognize these photos, these screenshots?
Yes.
How do you recognize them?
It's the FetLife account.
And Judge, at this point, I'm going to ask to admit Commonwealth's 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, and 65 to be admitted under seal and published to the jury only.
All right. No objection. All right, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, admitted under seal.
Okay, and I'm going to run back through them.
58.
Okay. So Commonwealth's 58, is this the FetLife profile that was posted?
Yes.
And the about section here that we can see, who wrote the words in that? Who composed that?
Brendan.
I didn't know that. That's wild.
And then in 59, Commonwealth's 59,
Super pretty.
is this also a part of the FetLife profile?
Yes.
And then Commonwealth 60, is this the photograph that was used as the profile photo for the FetLife
Yes.
profile? And then Commonwealth 61 here, is this the group, for lack of a better word, that this profile was posted in?
Oh, sorry. Can you repeat again, please?
Sure. This photograph here, Commonwealth 61, is this the group within FetLife that you use to communicate with other users?
Yes.
And then Commonwealth 62, is this the post that you and Brendan used on FetLife?
Is there an object? What's your objection, Mr. Leading? Okay,
Okay, understood.
all right. I'll
Take-
sustain the objection.
Take a look at Commonwealth 62. Can you describe for us what it is?
It's a post made on that profile.
And what website was this posted on?
FetLife.
And what was the reason for posting it?
There was what the account was first created, I guess, and to tell people what she was looking for.
And whose idea was it to post this? Whose idea was it to post this?
Brendan.
Okay. We can terminate this view at this point. How did you and Brendan, how did you use the laptop? How did the two of you use her laptop without her knowing about it?
There was because every time she used to get home from work, she used to throw her backpack by the door, and in the backpack was her her laptop and her work stuff.
And once the FetLife account was created, what, if anything, did the two of you do with it?
Texting other people, other guys. They would also text looking for whatever it is that they're interested in.
Okay. And had Brendan explained to you at this point in time, or was there any explanation given to you about what it was that he was using FetLife for, or what it was he was looking for from another FetLife user?
Yeah.
What was that?
The website is for BDSM, people that like that kind of stuff, and he said we would be able to find somebody that plays like aggressive or that likes playing with blood and that kind of stuff.
And why? What was the, what if any reason did he want to find someone like that for?
Well, because the person would be eventually, the person would be invited to come to the house, and he needed to know that the person was willing, or he was going to do what he had in his mind.
And what was he using FetLife to ask other users to do to the Anastasia profile?
Things like pinning her down, gagging her, spanking. Yeah.
I was on vacation, which is why
it's
it's quiet in here.
To message other people, were you, who would do the typing? Were you typing? Was Brendan typing?
To talk to other people?
Yes.
You asked. Sometimes it would be him, sometimes it would be me by his instruction when he was with me.
And were the two of you typically together while you were using FetLife to message other people?
Yes.
And was Christine home or not home when the two of you used FetLife?
She was home.
Always?
Yes.
Why?
Because he always mentioned for us to make sure to log in on the account when she was also home. So it would have, throughout the investigation, it would have been very clear that, like, whenever she was using the profile, she was home, and yeah.
And you
That
said
didn't make
because
sense to me.
because during the investigation. Why would there be an investigation?
Well, he always thought, like, in advance, he knew how the investigation would go. Like, he always knew, and yeah.
Ma'am,
But why did he know?
What do you know?
Why? You said because he always knew about the investigation. What did he know about an investigation? There hasn't been one yet.
He knew eventually we would have one investigation
Why?
because there would be murder, and It's just what happens. Investigation.
Did he tell you that?
Yeah.
What specifically did he tell you about that?
Well, he knew that we needed to have some alibis. He knew that he needed to change his routine 2 weeks prior, so he wouldn't be odd that he wasn't, just at McDonald's on that day specifically.
Okay. I am going to show you a couple of items one at a time. The parties have stipulated to the admissibility of the next 2 items, well, the next several items. The first 2 are going to be Commonwealth 66 and 67. And Judge, Commonwealth 66, I'm going to ask to have published to the jury and counsel only, and I'm going to ask that these be under seal.
66 and 67?
Yes.
And there's an agreement to admissibility, is that correct, Mr. Kerr?
Okay.
So 66 and 67 are in evidence under seal?
I wonder what they are.
Say that again. Let me see.
Yep.
Whispering. Well, I'm looking at my channel analytics, and I'm not getting as many views as, let's be real, nowhere close to as many views as normal, but the counter on the top of the screen is wrong because it should be lower. So, for what it's worth. But it's also, I kind of anticipated this coming back from vacation, plus it being a Friday.
I'm going to move on. Having a couple of technical difficulties, so I'm going to move on for a minute, and then we'll go back to 66 and 67. Did you and the defendant ever travel out of town together?
Yes.
Where did you go?
To Winchester, Virginia.
Do you recall when that was?
When?
When?
Not exact date, no.
Do you know if it was before or after that the defendant created the FetLife profile?
Can I say if I'm not 100% sure though?
No,
You don't recall?
No.
Okay. How did you arrange to go to Winchester together?
He was going for an overnight stay in a hotel for his job.
Okay.
And
Go ahead.
and he took his car, his work car, and they took the white car to drive.
And when the two of you were in Winchester, was there ever any posting on FetLife at that time?
No,
And why would that have been?
because like I said before, that he always made sure to
What's your objection, Mr. Carroll? Your microphone, I can't, it's very hard to hear you. What's your legal objection?
Legal objection. She's asked and answered that she didn't do any posting. And so
Asked and
any
answered.
further question?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
He said asked and answered.
I don't think I asked her if any of them posted on FetLife while they were
Okay,
out of town in Winchester.
Okay, I'll overrule the objection. Go ahead.
Sorry. Did either of you post on FetLife or message anyone on FetLife while the two of you were in Winchester?
No,
And why is that?
because we would only
There.
post when we were home and she was home at the same time.
Okay. And were there any other things that the two of you did to make it look like Christine was the one messaging in FetLife? Do you want me to ask that a different way?
Yes, please.
Did the two of you ever
Oh,
message
Lord.
people or post on FetLife when Christine was home and only one of you was home?
Yes.
And whose idea was that?
Brendan?
And did he say why?
Yes.
And why was that?
Because, again, when he talked about the investigation we would have at some point, he pointed out that the police would have access to where our phones pin, and so we wouldn't be able to accuse him of doing that, because sometimes she would be doing it, posting and messaging, and she would be home and he wouldn't be home, and other times I wouldn't be home, and so there would be no way to actually prove it, and that's the alibis he talked about.
Can you recall any specific instances of how it would have worked for one of you to be home posting while Christine was home and the other one was out of the home?
That normally happened when both of us went to the gym, and he would tell me to leave earlier and go home, so I get home before him, and for me to log in the account and, text people, talk to people. And other times he would tell me to hang in the gym behind, and he would leave earlier, so he would be the one logging in and talking to people.
Okay. And the gym that you're talking about, do you recall which gym that was?
Yeah, Lifetime.
And did the two of you, and do you know which location?
Yeah, Ruston.
Did the two of you go to Lifetime Fitness together frequently?
Yes.
Did Christine go with the two of you?
It was just maybe a couple times, but nothing. It was normally Rana and I.
Okay.
Guys,
I'm
welcome.
going to go back to Commonwealth 66 and 67 at this point. If we could see 66.
You can publish from the table, please.
Just give us a second.
Riley.
Jury, it's already in evidence. In the gallery.
These were.
Oh, sealed, no, never mind. Okay.
All right, so looking at Commonwealth 66, can you see it on your screen?
Yes.
Okay. And then at the top of your screen, there's a column that's titled User ID. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. The user ID identified as Anastasia 9.
Okay.
Who wrote the messages from Anastasia 9? Not that specific message, but just in general. Who is the person or persons who are writing the messages from Anastasia 9?
It's either me or Brendan.
And the other user IDs that we see that are largely numbers in this view, Are those messages that are received by you and the defendant using the Anastasia 9 profile?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to ask for us to scroll forward a little bit to location number 367 or cell 367. The user ID Taco Supreme 7000. Did you come to know who that was?
Still,
And now if we could switch to Commonwealth 67. The Taco Supreme 7000 profile that you came to know as Joe Ryan. We see that profile and we see Anastasia 9 communicating in this view of the spreadsheet. Do you recognize these as FetLife chats that you and Brendan wrote from Anastasia 9 and received from Taco Supreme?
yes.
Taco Supreme.
And when the two of you were using FetLife, I've asked you before what it was that Brendan was looking for. What is it about Joe's answers and messages that attracted Brendan to selecting Joe? Did he ever tell you?
He told me at some point too, but he was always making comments like that Joe was the white person.
Did he say why?
Because he seemed to be like the person who would do the things that Brendan needed the person to do.
Okay.
That's kind of bizarre.
I'm now going to ask you to look at Commonwealth's 68, 69, 70, 71, and 72, one at a time.
Can you go back to that one first? Go back to that? Yeah. You're still connected.
For those of you who are new here, I just got back from vacation, so it's been really slow getting the algorithm back in check. So I appreciate you being here.
Let's look
press
at
like.
68 first.
We're just getting back to the podium. Hold on.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor. I do think these are all Excel spreadsheets. and
Okay,
we're
do you
having-
want
Stay with me.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we're having trouble with Excel from this computer.
Okay.
So first, if we could look at 68 from the witness and counsel views only. And again, Your Honor, the parties have stipulated to the FetLife chats. So I believe that all of these exhibits can be admitted, but I'd ask that they be admitted under seal.
68, 69, 70?
68, 69, 70, 71, and 72.
Okay. Is that correct, Mr. Carroll? Do you need to see them all? She said you've already agreed to not the miscibility, but just to the foundation.
These are the same exhibits that were provided to council last weekend. They're,
But if you could go through them, do you want me to go through these and make sure? Okay. You need to see them, is that what you? Okay, I'm sorry, just, if you have your microphone on, I have a lot of trouble hearing you up here.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so you need to see.
My
Okay,
client and I need to
You
see.
could go through all those exhibits, Ms. Bristler.
Okay, so looking at 68 is a short one.
Is that the one
That
that's
is-
on screen right now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, no objection.
All right, so 68 in evidence, under seal. Is this 69 we're
This
looking
is
at now?
69.
No objection.
All right, no objection, 69 under seal.
All right, I'll be on FNL. It's confirmed. I just had to wait to hear back from the big man. All right, let me go get Riley's food.
No objection.
That's 67?
I was like, not
Is
to
that
be
correct? I'm
awkward.
sorry, 70?
That's 70.
70, okay, 70.
But are we
Under
doing
seal.
this?
71. We could look at 71.
Timmy, I will be back on the Unsolved Mysteries chat. I've been on vacation. I didn't tell you guys, but I was out of the country. So I got this really cool sweatshirt. Screenshot that.
No objection.
All right, 71 under seal, and then 72.
No objection.
All right, so 72 also under seal. Okay, thank you.
Okay. If we could go back to 68. Can you see on your screen Commonwealth 68?
Yes.
Okay. And you see again, in the menu, in the title bar there, you see ID, conversation ID, user ID, body. So the conversation ID that we're looking at, I just want to check and make sure we're both looking at the same thing. 446774523.
Yes.
Okay. So we see these messages between this user ID and then the Anastasia profile. This user ID says, I wish I could get you to come meet me at my hotel in Richmond next Wednesday night. And then the Anastasia profile says, thank you, Richmond is too far for me. I'm looking to chat a bit before meeting someone. So why would it be that you guys wouldn't have pursued this user?
Because all along, his plan was for the person to come in the house. Yeah.
And when we're looking again at the Anastasia profile, is it you and or Brendan who is operating the Anastasia profile?
Yes.
Okay. Then if we could move on to Commonwealth 69. So just making sure that we're looking at the same thing on the screen. I'm looking at conversation 447868690.
Yes.
All right, okay. So this person is looking for someone to meet up with at restaurants and coffee shops and just talking and getting to know
Did you
one
say that you
another.
knew me though?
They'd like to go to an event eventually,
Deal
and they
over
say
there.
they're pretty new to FET world, but willing to learn. And then the Anastasia profile says, I'm not looking to go out on dates, sorry. Why is it that the two of you wouldn't have pursued, why would Brendan have not pursued this person to further converse with?
Sorry, I'm sorry.
It's okay. So this person is asking to meet out in public.
Mhm.
Is that something that Brendan was interested in having the Anastasia profile do?
No,
Why not?
because again, it needs somebody that would agree to come into the house. Yeah, so could do the things that he needed the person to do.
And meeting out in public is not something that.
No.
Let's look at the exhibit Commonwealth 70.
I'm gonna pull these out, aren't I?
Where do you want to go? I want to stay at the
Again,
top first. Okay. So again, just making sure we're looking at the same document. I'm looking at conversation ID 452721523.
Yes.
Yes, okay. So So this user ID messages the Anastasia profile and says, saw your ad, I'm interested, a little bit about what I like and have done in the past. First off, restraints, and I've used rope and some leather cuffs and some vinyl tape.
Those are my people.
The profile goes on to describe pretty specifically what experience and what equipment that this person has and can bring to this relationship. Is this someone that, is this someone that the two of you might have been interested in?
Can I just read it over?
Say that again?
Can I just read it over?
Yes, of course, take your time.
Where's Texas? I haven't seen him in a minute. Granted, I haven't been on, so.
Yes.
And if you could scroll down a little bit. So this conversation looks like it went on for a little bit longer than the past two conversations. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. And then if you look at cell number 931,
I could never.
the profile says, the other user says, I would expect that you might want to meet somewhere in public before doing anything in private. Your call on how or when to do that. Most weekdays I could get away at some point during the day to get a bite to eat or coffee or a drink after work. And then it goes on from there. Did you guys answer that? You take a look at the spreadsheet and let me know if you see an answer to this request to get together.
No,
And why wouldn't you have responded?
because that's not something
We're beating a dead
interested in.
horse.
Going for a coffee or meeting in public.
Okay. And then if we could go on to Commonwealth 72.
Let's speed this along.
And then if we can move down to cell number 571.
Closed captioning. Yeah, they're on. I'm just gonna do just a little quick. Because that was agonizing.
There we go. Okay, so in this conversation, and let's make sure I'm looking at the same conversation again. I'm looking at conversation 448599624.
Yes.
Yes, okay. So in this conversation, there's some initial talk. And then in cell number 571, the Anastasia profile says, I don't have restraints. It's something you would need to bring and be comfortable doing. Sounds really intense. And then there's more, but I'm not going to read that aloud. Why did the other user need to bring restraints?
Well, because we didn't have it. And whoever the person was going to be was supposed to bring all the stuff, like the restraints and or cups, whatever the person's supposed to have to bring.
And whose idea was that?
Brendan's.
And what else was the person eventually supposed to bring?
Eventually, you want the person to bring a knife.
Okay. And when we look at cell number 572, this user responds to the Anastasia profile, and this user says, so I'm a vet. We need to work up to restraints. I don't recommend them until the second or third time, once trust is there. And then in 573, this user says, if you're for real, let's grab a drink or coffee in public to see if there's attraction, no expectations. I work out in Fairfax County on Tuesdays if you're around. And then Anastasia responds in 574. And is it you and Brendan still operating the Anastasia profile at this point in time?
Yes.
So you tell her, I'm not interested in going on a regular date. That takes away from the excitement and the thrill of the first meeting. Why is that? So this is the third time that we've seen FetLife users saying, let's meet someplace, let's meet in public. And this person says, essentially, I've been doing this a while, and usually we don't get to that part until the second or third time we meet.
I'm trying
So
not to
why-
judge, but
why
I
is it
know my
important,
face.
Why is it significant that, or why is it again that that the Anastasia profile keeps refusing to meet in public?
Because of the plan I had in mind.
This
The
is the 12th time
to
she
happen
told
in
us
the house, the
this.
person would need to come over, bring their stuff. And because it was not Christine talking. So there was no way going out on a date to first meet the person.
All right, let's move on to Commonwealth 71.
Thank you, God almighty, Lordy.
71, correct? Yes, okay. Okay, and then just again, make sure we're looking at the same conversation. I'm looking at conversation ID 446943660.
Yes.
This conversation, and I'm going to ask if we could just scroll through the conversation so we can see kind of the length of it. So it looks like this conversation is longer to me. Does it look longer to you?
Yes.
And if we could look at cell 145. So in this conversation, can you take a look at cells 145, 146, 147, and 148, 149?
Okay.
And so this user is still expressing, this is a new user, this is a different user, and this user is expressing discomfort at coming to someone else's house. This user says, I mean, I'm more than fine to play that role, just not at someone else's house, where your husband could come home at any time. And then the Anastasia profile, which again, is that you and Brendan as the Anastasia profile?
Yes.
And so you tell this user that he works a set schedule and that she works a rotating schedule, and childcare responsibilities make it harder to plan around, and that they're only comfortable at my house and feel best about being there and recovering and relaxing at home afterwards. Again, the Anastasia profile, you and Brendan are saying, we don't want to come outside of our house. And is this for the same reason?
Yes.
And then this user in cell number 143 tells her, the concept is very hot, yeah, but the way you explain it does not look great on my side if anything were to go wrong. Basically, going into your home uninvited, tying you up and taking advantage of you. Is that what the intent was? To have someone come in
Yes.
and to behave in the
I'm
manner?
sorry, I'm just going to object to the leading nature
Our
of these
leading
questions. It's been,
I'll stay in this meeting.
I'll move on. Did you and Brendan ever agree to meet a FetLife user in public?
No.
Did you ever agree to meet another FetLife user at a hotel
No.
or at another user's home or work?
No.
And so ultimately, out of all the users in the Commonwealth 67 and the few conversations that we've explored, Joe Ryan was selected.
Yes.
Who chose Joe?
Brendan.
And did he say why he picked Joe after interacting with him on FetLife?
It was mostly because he made Brendan feel confident enough that he would be the person to play the role they needed the person to play, which means being aggressive and hold her down and come over to the house and bring stuff and all that, yeah.
And Did you and the defendant ever use any other form of communication with Joe Ryan?
Yes.
And what form of communication was that?
It was a Telegram.
And were you present when the Telegram account was created?
Yes.
Who created the Telegram account?
Brendan.
And how did he do that?
He used her laptop on its anonymous page, and he had her cell phone with him at the time because he needed to receive a code on her cell phone so she could create the account on Telegram.
And how did you and the defendant communicate with Joe Ryan on Telegram?
By texting.
Did you use any other form of communication on Telegram with him?
Phone call, phone call.
And who was it that spoke on the phone with Joe Ryan when you had that phone call?
I spoke to Joe.
Your Honor, we can switch from the table to podium.
Which one? The podium?
Yeah, podium.
Okay, podium. Take the jury.
When you spoke on the phone, did Joe comment on your accent?
Yes.
What did he
Those-
say?
That was the first thing he said. As soon as I said hi, he was surprised that I had an accent. And he asked, "Oh, you have an accent?" I didn't know. And I told him, yes.
Now I'm going to show you Commonwealth 73, and I would ask for this to be displayed to counsel and witness only.
Sorry,
And if I can have
sorry.
court's indulgence,
That's
just-
funny.
Sure. Okay. Do you have something on your screen in front of you?
Yes.
Okay. And Judge, Commonwealth 73 has been stipulated, admissibility has been stipulated by the parties.
All right, yes, sir. Okay, that's true, because 73 in evidence, thank you.
Yep. And so we could publish that to the jury.
Okay.
I'm going to scroll, this is a lengthy exhibit, so I'm not going to scroll through all of the bubbles, but I'm just going to scroll through a few pages so that you can get a sense of the two parties communicating. Now, in looking at these conversations, we see that the blue bubbles are from Anastasia. Who is operating the Anastasia profile on Telegram?
Brendan and I.
And then we see the green bubbles are from Joe. The owner is Joe.
Yeah.
Did you come to know who that person was, or did you learn who that person was?
Joe,
Mhm.
I mean, just when he came to the house that day, or
Okay.
24.
I'm looking at page 2.
Ooh, okay. All
Joe sent
right.
a message on February 20th that says, "I'm looking forward to Friday." Who chose February 24th, 2023 as the date?
Brendan.
And did he say why he chose that date?
He did say why, but right now I can recall.
Okay. I'm going to scroll forward to page 28. Which I apologize for the scrolling.
Why, when you send a message, make sure that you wouldn't be embarrassed if your grandmother read it. Just saying.
There is a photograph in one of Joe's posts that I'm going to try to blow up here. Take a look at the photograph. Do you see it in front of you?
Yes,
Did Brendan see that photograph?
he did.
And did he make any comments on that photograph?
Yeah,
A nice
What did he
night.
say?
that was not the knife he was expecting the person to bring. When he asked about the knife, he was expecting a pointy knife. That would be easier.
I'm sorry. That's not funny. It just like
All right.
now we're getting
And
real.
I'm going to move down to page 41.
This is just bizarro land.
On page 41, we see the Anastasia profile. Again, is that still you and Brendan?
Yes,
Okay. And the Anastasia profile says, "Oh, I forgot to tell you, I do have a dog. She's very nice, but she will be in the basement." Who sent that message?
Brendan?
I am going to terminate this view here. If I could ask for it to be terminated to the gallery.
Why? We want to see it.
Before February 24th, 2023, the day of, did the defendant ask you to do other things to get ready?
Can you ask differently?
Sure. Did you keep the same cell phone that you initially obtained when you came to the US?
No.
Can you tell me about your cell phone in relation to the date of February 24th, 2023?
Yeah, a few days prior, Brendan told us to trade in our phones.
Okay. And did you do that?
Yes,
And why did you do that? Why was it necessary to get a new phone?
Okay.
because he told me to get rid of my other phone where it had our pictures and our stuff, and because even if I reset my phone, it was to be able to see the things I had before.
And what about your Apple ID? Did you keep the same Apple ID?
No,
Why did you change Apple IDs?
because they also said that it would be able to see through my Apple ID the things I had on my phone before.
And did Brendan get a new phone as well?
He did,
Do you know, did it happen at the same time or at a different time than you?
a different time.
And was there anything, were there any changes to the home?
Yes,
And can you talk about that?
they changed all the windows in the house, and Brenda's
That's why it
Brenda's
was.
description of the window was more soundproof. That's how I would say it. I'm not sure if that's how you call it, but that's,
Oh, wow.
that's the description.
Okay. And what, if anything, did
Okay.
any of you do with regard to that?
After they changed all the windows in the house, he told me for us to test, and he had told me to go up to the master bedroom, and he would be outside the driveway, and he told me for me to scream from the master bedroom to see if he could hear anything from the driveway, but I didn't do it.
Okay. Did you do anything different instead?
Instead, he told me so I could go out in the driveway, and he would go up to the master bedroom, and he would be the one screaming, and I would just tell him whether or not I heard anything, and also from the backyard, because the house had trail and neighbors, and he will make sure people wouldn't hear from there.
And did you do that?
I was out to see if I could hear him. Yes,
And could you?
barely.
And then where did you usually park your car?
My car I would park normally in the driveway. Other times I'd park by the mailbox in the cul-de-sac.
And did you park it somewhere else in preparation for February 24th, 2023?
Yeah, the night before I parked in the cul-de-sac.
Why did you do that?
Brendan told me to do so because maybe Joe would come around to see what he was getting himself into, and or maybe in the morning, and then he would see a different car, and you'd scare him away, and yeah.
And then, so those are all things that you did. Did the defendant do anything else in preparation for that day?
Yeah, he went around in the neighborhood, checking for ring cameras, doorbell cameras, the doors. He knew that our neighbor, she didn't have cameras, and our neighbor to our left, and our neighbor John in front of us also didn't have cameras, but he was checking for other neighbors, and also changing his routine so the day that happened, he wouldn't be odd that he was at McDonald's like 6 minutes away. So he started leaving the house earlier to go to work, and he would stop by somewhere else to eat breakfast or something. And yeah, and so that he wouldn't be odd.
Okay. How did the defendant know that Christine would be out of the home on that morning?
She was
Or, I'm
supposed,
sorry, how did the defendant know that Christine would be at home that morning?
yeah, she was scheduled to work that Friday morning. And he had told me that he would talk to her out of it to like change. And so instead of going to work on that morning, she would be off and she would be at home. And
What was the plan for you and Valerie to be out of the house?
he had said about telling her that Valerie and I would go to the zoo, spend all day at the zoo, and we would be leaving the house early. And so, yeah, that was the plan for me and Valerie.
When did you tell her about the plan?
I told her it was a few days prior to, but I told her in person because he didn't want any messages where I would be asking, telling her about it. So the conversation I had with her was in person a few days prior.
And you said the conversation was in person, and why? I couldn't hear you.
Yeah. Oh, you couldn't hear?
Yeah, why was the conversation in person?
So you didn't be me requesting, talk down her that we're going, asking to go, and yeah, so he wanted things in person.
And who wanted things in person?
Brendan,
Was there really an au pair's trip planned for the zoo that morning?
there was not.
When you woke up on the morning of the 24th, what happened first?
I woke up early. I think I had an alarm on my phone and went downstairs to the kitchen.
Do you recall what time you got up?
I would say 6 something.
Did you wake up Valerie that morning?
No, Brendan did.
And who brought Valerie to you that morning?
Brendan.
Did he say anything to you when he left Valerie with you?
She said Christine was asleep.
And what did you do next?
Next, I started getting her ready downstairs. And yeah, for now, I was just getting her ready, like in the living room downstairs.
All of my dogs are just now like wanting to go outside.
Did you or Brendan text Joe that morning?
Yes.
And on what platform?
On what?
On what platform? How did you contact him?
The Telegram.
Okay. And
That poor guy.
in the Telegram messages, we can see instructions for Joe to park in the driveway.
Mm-hmm.
What exhibit is this? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry?
What exhibit is this on
Oh,
the
I
screen?
apologize, Your Honor. This is Commonwealth 73.
73, so it's already in evidence, so
Yes, it is
we can
already in
publish it to the jury. Thank you.
I apologize, I don't know exactly on what page.
Judge, you interrupted her flow. Sheesh.
I'm just going to move on. I can't find the page at this moment. How is Joe supposed to get into the house?
I told him during the phone call that the door would be unlocked.
Okay. And who unlocked the front door?
Brendan did, using Christine's cell phone.
And I'm going to show you, I could have the view to be to counsel and the witness only at this point. Commonwealth 231.
Is that 231?
231.
Thank you.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
Do you know what that is? Do you recognize that?
I would say it's Christine's cell phone.
And do you recognize the app that is showing?
Yes, that's the tab that will control the front door lock and the thermostat in the house.
And is this the app that was used to unlock the door?
Yeah.
How is the door going to stay unlocked?
It has to be changed. It has to be deactivated through the app on the cell phone. The person can choose how many minutes the door is gonna
Okay.
lock in.
Judge, at this point in time, I'm going to ask to admit Commonwealth 231,
Any objection?
Okay.
All right, 231
and that can be published to the jury.
and published.
Yes. What did Brendan do with the phone, if anything, after he made sure that the door would stay unlocked?
He deactivated the door lock on her phone, and he turned it off and hid the phone in the drawer in the bar area we have, like in the kitchen.
Oh, man.
And at this point, we can terminate the view. All right. Before the two of you left the house that morning, did you have any other conversation with Brendan?
No, he had, after I texted Joe, he said, Brendan told me he would be leaving the house at that moment for me to wait a few minutes before leaving the house with Valerie.
What, if anything, did he give you in that morning before the two of you left?
Gun,
What kind of gun?
handgun.
And what did you do with that?
I put it in my pocket, in my sweater.
Who was it that left the house first?
Brendan did.
And what was the plan for him that morning? Where was he going to go and what was going to happen next?
He was going to stay, he was going to go to the McDonald's, which is, say 5-6 minutes away from our house by the clock tower. And he would stay there until whenever I called him.
And what were you supposed to do?
I was supposed to stay in the car with Valerie to put something on her iPad for her to watch. And as soon as I saw Jariah pulling up the driveway, I was supposed to give Christine a call, but her phone would be off and it would go to voicemail. And I was supposed to call him right away and tell him there was somebody strange coming to the house, and that I was scared. And
I was scared.
Okay.
My name
And
is
so
Sophia Vigara.
let's go step by step. Did you leave the house?
yeah,
Did you go to the car?
yes,
And did you put Valerie inside the car?
yes.
And did you begin to put a show on for her?
Yeah, I was trying to connect her tablet on the Wi-Fi on my phone,
Okay.
so I could put on a show for her on Netflix.
And then what, if anything, did you see after that?
I think after a couple minutes, I do not know how many minutes passed. That's when I saw Joe pulling in the driveway, and I was still parked in the cul-de-sac, and I called Christine's phone and went voicemail, and I called Brendan right after, as he had instructed me to do.
It's not.
And did Brendan say why he wanted you to call Christine's phone and then call his phone?
Yeah, so then you'd have the history, the phone call history on her phone that I had tried to call her. Yeah.
And then what happened next? You said you saw Joe arrive.
Mhm.
What, if anything, did you see him do?
He just went straight to the driveway and parked next to Christine's car. And I called, after I called Christine, I called Brendan, and then he picked up the phone, and I was telling him just the way he had said, and like there was somebody strange and come to the house, I'm scared. And he told me for me to stay there, he would be coming home. And that he would try to also call Christine.
I'm gonna go backwards a little bit. Do you recall when it was that Brendan told you, when Joe arrives, call Christine and then call me? Do you recall when he told you that?
It was throughout the whole process when I think he had all his plan in his mind, and then he just told me how things were going to happen. This is gonna happen, you do this, and then you do that, and that's gonna happen. But I cannot say for sure, like, the period, like, when that was, I cannot say it.
At this point, you've seen Joe Ryan go into the house, you've made your phone calls. What, if anything, happened at this point?
After I call Brendan, he says he's coming, and then a few minutes pass. Again, I don't know how many minutes. But it felt like forever. And he arrived, parked his car next to the mailbox, and he got out the car. He was crossing the street, and I got out the car. I got Valerie out of the car too.
Emma.
Then we went
If you're coming in every
Following
day, I appreciate it.
to the back of the house, to the door that leads us into the basement.
Okay. And whose idea was it to go into the basement?
Brendan.
And whose idea was it for all of you to go into the basement?
Brendan.
And did all three of you go into the basement together?
Yeah.
And when you accessed the basement, did you go in through the front door of the house? Did you go in through the back door of the house? How did you get in?
The three of us got into the house through the basement door, which was in the back of the house.
And when the three of you went into the basement, did anyone lock the door to the outside that you had just come in after you went inside?
No, after when I saw it, I did not recall locking the door or doing anything with the door.
Do you recall if their dog was in the basement when you went inside?
I saw her in a flash. And also because I knew she was going to be there in the basement.
Do you have a husky?
But what happened with her after that, I don't know.
Okay. Did she go upstairs with you?
What is it?
I'll move on. So is Valerie still with you at this point in time while you're in the basement?
Yes.
Okay. And so what did you do with Valerie?
Brendan told us to stay there in the basement. And again, I knew we were supposed to stay there, she and I. And he went upstairs to the main floor.
Okay. And what if anything did you do?
I just stayed with her. And after a couple minutes passed by, and I had told her for you to stay here. And then I also went upstairs to the main floor.
Was that something that you decided to do, or was that a part of, was that something that you were told to do?
It was something I was told to do. It was part of his plan.
And say that again?
It was part of his plan.
Okay. And when you say it was a part of his plan, whose plan?
Brendan's.
Okay. So you left Valerie in the basement, and you said you went upstairs?
Mm-hmm.
When you got to the main level, did you or Brendan lock the door at the top of the basement stairs?
I don't recall doing that.
And what, if anything, did you do next?
When I got to the main floor, Brendan was standing at the bottom of the stairs that lead us
He was
upstairs.
standing at the stairs.
And he was just listening. Then he gestured to me for me to wait, just listen to the sound. And the sound was like slapping. That's when you're slapping somebody. That's the sound we could hear.
And what, if anything, happened after that?
I think we were listening to that sound for a few seconds, and he took his gun out. And because I also had the gun with me, I just
worked for the
did the same.
IRS.
And he proceeded to go upstairs, and I just followed him upstairs to the master bedroom.
Who opened the bedroom door?
Brendan?
Did you go inside the bedroom?
Yes.
And what did you see when you went inside the bedroom?
When we first get into the bedroom, I could see that the bed we have in the master bedroom was kind of tall. And so from my point of view, all I could see was Joe at the moment, and it was Joe on top of Christine in a way on this pipe holding her down. And that was my first view as soon as I get into the bedroom.
Were you able to see Christine at all at that point?
At that point, no.
Did anyone say anything when the two of you went into the bedroom?
Yeah, when I got to the bedroom, Brendan said, he yelled, "Police officer." And Christine's first reaction, that was the first time I heard she say anything at that point.
Okay, he wasn't a police officer. He worked for the freaking IRS. He could take your taxes and make your life a living hell. Let's be real about it. And meanwhile, if you could please make sure to hit the like button. And if you weren't subscribed, do that as well. We are super close to hitting our next growth milestone. So I appreciate you guys viewing on this lazy Friday. Thanks.
Then she yelled back at Brendan, saying, "Brendan, he has a knife." And yeah, that's when Brendan first shot Joe.
Did you see Joe before he was shot?
Yeah,
What did he look like when he saw Brendan?
shocked.
After Brendan shot Joe, did anyone say anything?
If anyone said anything,
Yeah, did anyone say anything in the room at that point?
yeah, because Brendan ran to Christine. She was still on the floor, and I think that point she had seen me, and she said, she asked what to do to Brendan. I think regarding to that he shot Joe.
I knew you were
And
going to be in
she
here.
said my name. She told me, Juliana, call 911.
And what did you do?
I called 911.
And what happened after you called 911?
At that point,
Love you
Joe
guys.
was already shot, so that's the sound in the background. And Brendan looks at me and just, in a way, for me, like to hang up the call.
Did he tell you, did he say, Juliana, hang up the call?
No, he did not.
How did he communicate to you?
A gesture.
And what gesture did he make?
This.
And so what did you do after he made that gesture?
I hung up the phone, the phone call.
What, if anything, happened next?
Next, he was on top of Christine. Joe was laying there, and did that for me to grab a towel from the master bathroom. We have the closet, and I just ran to the master bathroom and grabbed him a towel. And
If you are watching right now, Huskies, who's on the screen, I showed a video featuring her husband yesterday. So if you go back and watch about halfway through my stream yesterday, you will see it. It's a very good video.
to bring it to him.
And at this point in time, could you see Christine?
Yes.
What did you see Brendan do next?
When I was bringing him the towel, he got on top of her, and that's when I first saw him stab her with a knife.
Where on her body was he stabbing her?
Her neck.
And were you able to see whether or not he stabbed her one time or more than one time?
When I first saw that happening, I ran to the other side of the bed, and I was just crouching down on myself and covering my ears and covering my eyes. And a few times I looked, and I was able to see him stabbing her, and he would stab, and other times he would hold the knife in a position how that was.
You said he was holding the knife in a position?
Yeah.
How was he holding it?
This position, I think when the way he stabbed, he was just kind of like holding it, putting pressure on it.
And was he just holding onto the knife at that point, or was he still stabbing her?
I was holding on to the knife.
Did you stab Christine at all?
I did not.
Did you touch Christine at all at this point?
No,
Did you get any blood on you?
I did.
Area.
And how did you get blood on you?
the blood on my hands, I remember, because at some point when he was stabbing her, I was kneeling, like she was here, and Brendan was like stabbing her, and I came closer, and it was right here, and I knelt on the carpet, and I had put my hands on the carpet, and as soon as I felt blood, I just removed my hands from the carpet.
Why? What did the blood feel like?
It was warm.
I knew Huskies was listening to this too. I knew. I just had a feeling.
Did you get blood
Didn't
on
know.
any other part of you?
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
It was on my shoes, but also on my socks.
How did you get blood on your shoes?
I was walking around, I would say, freaking out, and I was pacing back and forth, and it was pacing and staying in place, covering my eyes and ears, and I didn't want to hear their conversation, and so I don't truly know like how I got blood on my socks.
When did you take off your shoes?
When Brendan had told me 21.
Flash poll in the chat. Should I get white rice or brown rice? Go, 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 go. Rate it, rate it, rate it, rate it, rate it. Thank you.
28, he was telling me basically to go to the master, to the closet, to the safe, and he was telling me 21, 28, and it took me a while to know what he was talking about, and I was like, 21, 28, what? And we said safe, and before I started going to the closet, he told me take off your shoes, and I took off my shoes, and
Nice.
I proceeded going to the safe. I got my tiptoes like with my socks on.
Why was it that you went to the safe?
Huh?
Why did you go to the safe?
Because it was also part of his plan, and for reasons I can't make sense of them now, given that I had the gun with me that morning. Yeah,
But he wanted you to go to the safe?
yes.
Okay, I'm going to show you a series of photographs at this point. And they are going to be Commonwealth 74, 75, 76, 77, and 78. And if I could have them displayed to the witness and counsel only, please.
Okay.
I'm going to scroll through these photos, and I'm going to ask you some questions about them. So this is Commonwealth 74, 75, 76, 77, and 78. Do you recognize these photos?
Yes.
And how do you recognize them?
These photos were taken at the police headquarters on the date that happened. And the last picture, it's a picture of my shoes and my socks.
And the photos that show us 74, 75, 76, and 77, are those a true and accurate depiction of the clothing that you were wearing that day?
Yes.
And is 78 a true and accurate depiction of the shoes and socks that you were wearing that day?
Yeah.
Judge, at this point in time, I would ask for the court to publish these to the jury.
Push them in evidence.
I'm sorry,
Any
if I could
objection?
admit them into evidence and then publish them to
All
the
right.
jury.
No objection from the defense, 75, 76, 77, 78 in evidence.
And I'm just going to click through them so that they can publish.
I had a bizarre
And
cruise.
we can terminate that view, please.
Oh, guys, it's 706 out of 17, 717. After this, do you guys want me to play some of my vacation videos that I've been telling you I'd play? I'll do that when we finish up with this before we go into closing arguments. If you want.
What did you do next?
I'm sorry. Oh,
What did you do next? After 21, 28, you went to the safe, came back. What did you do at that point?
at that point, that's when I stand
Yes.
in front of the dresser and the TV, and I'm telling Brendan that Joe is moving. He was moving, and Brendan, he doesn't have any reaction to that whatsoever. And I just start telling him he's moving, he's behind you, and that's when I fired the shot too.
That's when could you say that again?
I fired
And when you say you fired what?
a gun
The gun that was where?
in my that I had in my pocket, the handgun.
Did you hit anyone?
Yes,
Who'd you hit?
Joe.
What happened after you shot Joe?
After I shot him, he falls back.
Did you see Brendan touch Joe's body after you shot him?
Touching, no.
Did you see him interacting with Joe or Christine after you shot Joe?
Well, he was still stabbed in Christine, and he got her blood in a handful of blood, and he starts dripping on Joe's body.
Did you ever call 911 again?
Yes,
Why did you call 911 again?
I called 911 again when Brendan told me he was ready for me to call.
And when you made that call, do you recall what you said?
I think I do not remember everything he said. I remember saying that I guess a friend of mine was being stabbed and somebody was shot, and I couldn't talk the rest of the call. So Brendan took the lead, and he was the one talking to the responder on the phone call.
Did the police arrive that day after you called 911?
They did.
What did you do when the police arrived?
The person on the phone, the 911, she told me to not hang up on the phone and go make sure the front door
I
is
knew
open.
that Timmy was like literally.
And so I went
nuts on this thing.
downstairs to make sure the door was open. And that's when they were already like at the door at that point.
And that day, on the day that the murders took place,
Okay.
did you speak to the police that day?
Yes. I think the first time I spoke to the police was in the driveway, and they took Valerie and I to the police headquarters.
Did you talk to the police when you got to headquarters?
Yes.
And did you tell the detectives that you spoke with that day about the things that you testified to here today?
Though what I told the detectives that day, it was the version Brendan had told me. If I was ever to talk to a lawyer, or this is ever going to happen, like this is what happened. The version I told the detectives that day, and that I eventually also told his lawyer the same version.
Ms. Brisler, is this a good break point for the day?
Yes.
Possibly? Yes. Or you want to check with?
Judge, if I could have 1 moment.
Yes.
Yes, Judge, this is a fine place to stop.
All right, just stay right there, ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen, since it's 5 o'clock, we're going to go ahead and release you for the day. Just a reminder tonight, don't look at any news, don't look at any social media, do not talk to anybody about this case, and please do not do any outside research, okay? And Deputy Johnson will take you back, and just make sure you get here tomorrow at the
Sorry.
time so we can start right on time tomorrow at 10 a.m., okay? Perfect, thank you.
Okay, all right. I had to make sure that this video was appropriate. And if you know me, that is saying a lot. Like, this is the video from, I walked into The Price is Right, and I have been featured on the Wheel of Fortune on a cruise before. And the way that you do it, actually I've been on 2 game shows before. The way you do it is by walking in there and acting like a lunatic. It is what it is. And some people are like, it's random selection. It is not random selection. I promise you that. So, I spotted 2 seats. They were not next to each other, in like the 4th and 5th row. And I was like, I'm going to sit here, Frank. You're going to sit there. And he's like, okay. Like, I am the captain. And the lady that I sat next to did not know where she was. She was very aggressive and very mad that I would enter a theater for a game show yelling, trying to get on said game show, which, by the way, I got on it. So we have husbands and wives communicating in the chat together to each other. Huskies, your husband is about to leave. And I'll be in touch. If you saw it yesterday, I featured you on the show. Okay. Let me remove this, and I'm going to show you guys this video. Do not hold it against me, or do. It's fine. Okay, and right off, if you have kids in the car, or the B word insults you, now is the time to turn off the video. And it looks like I looked at her and I said bitch, but that wasn't it. I did not do that. It was the people next to me asked me something and I said bitch, like crazy. She was friggin' nuts. So here we go.
I don't think it's Karen.
Bitch.
No, I think it's like
I did not call
something. I just saw it on Facebook yesterday.
Yeah, but I'm having a great time.
Jessica.
No.
Okay, what city? Oh, he's from Cleveland. We all know that.
He's from America.
I'm a
No,
constitutional
he's from
lawyer.
Cleveland.
Let's go.
Cleveland. He's from Cleveland.
Yes, he is. That's where I'm from. So at this point, I just start yelling everything. I am so annoyed by her that
I don't want her yelling in my ear. Can you direct it that way? I'd appreciate that if it's constitutional lawyer.
she wants to.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm not.
Of course I am. I've done this before. I know. We are having a great time. That's my husband, Karen.
I started calling her Karen to her face.
Oh my God.
I'm doing my best. Like, there were more people like this. I saw them at another show in
She's going to miss out on so much by moving a seat behind. It's not the fucking opera.
What year did Tango do? 80s.
What year was she born? 1970.
Not an original game.
BC.
All right. Exactly 80 or 80.
I would say that. I'm going to go with B.
B? Okay.
I'm going to go with 83. I like prime numbers. I like prime numbers.
Let's see.
And she was and by my existence. And I was like, oh, man.
So on the end of the Drew Carey show, when he sings the song in the beginning, he
Ohio!
Ohio! That's the only reason why I know.
We're Ohioans, so that's how we. Woo!
Just starts wooing. And she's still mad. She's still like angry. Talking to my husband.
You want to move here?
Yeah, you got more.
Oh, okay.
Oh no!
What's
I get her.
up, my man?
I get her.
Hey.
So this was this lady's son-in-law that sat next to me, and he was cool. Like, he was totally, like, nice.
Go fucking crazy! Keep on going. Set on the ocean. Woo!
But I was still yelling. But this part, they can be not quiet.
Chardonnay hits people the wrong way sometimes.
I need to put on the other. Almost nervous.
Wait, do it again.
I don't know why. Some people can't hang.
Some people can't hang, bitch. Some people can't hang. Hey, Frank.
Okay, that was it. That was the first video. But let's get back to business. You know what? Maybe I'll show the other videos on members only because I don't want to, offend anyone. God forbid. All right, let's do the share this tab. Other than that, lady, I mean, that was my only experience, like, of someone personally, like, confronting me. Like, I'm good enough at reading a room. If I am annoying someone, like, I will move to the other side of the room. But we were sitting there waiting to be chosen as contestants in this huge auditorium. And, like, I've done this before. I even said that. Like, I know what they're looking for. So I jumped up and I yelled, and voila, it must have just pissed her off when I got called. Okay, that's enough. Closing argument. That's okay. That's okay, Danny. Remember, I'm a constitutional lawyer. No, it was on the cruise.
Today, but for all of the time that you have spent carefully considering the evidence that we've been able to put before you, for the attention that you've paid, for the notes that you've taken, for the time that you've given up away from your daily lives, your jobs, and your families. Without your work here, Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan would not be able to find justice. So thank you. The judge has read the instructions to you. They'll go back to the jury room with you, and you're going to have those as your guide in making your decision. I would draw your attention to the fact that you've been given 2 counts of aggravated murder, 1 count of use of a firearm in commission of murder, and 1 count of child endangerment. Talking
Thank
first
you, Tammy.
about the aggravated murder instructions. They have 3 parts. You'll first need to find that Brendan Banfield killed Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan. You'll need to find that those killings were willful, deliberate, and premeditated. You'll need to find for one of the counts that those 2 murders occurred within a 3-year period, and for the other count, that those 2 murders occurred within the same transaction or occurrence. We know that they were killed during the same event within the Banfield residence, so that should knock that one out for you. 3 years, pretty simple as well. We know that they occurred on the same day.
Ma'am?
It's the first element that we're going to talk about, that Brendan Banfield killed both Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan. We know that on February 24th, 2023, he executed his plan to murder his wife and an innocent stranger. He was in love with Juliana. He can pretend that this was a fling, an affair, he'd had them before, no big deal. He was in love with Juliana. He was afraid of losing her. He needed to get rid of his wife so that they could be together, so that they could marry, so that they could have those babies that he was picking out names for.
That's so crazy.
Juliana told us how the plan was crafted and how it played out that morning in the Banfield house. But you've heard directly from our detectives and our experts the uncontradicted evidence of Brendan Banfield's culpability. You needn't rely only on Juliana's story. There has been a plethora of evidence to help you meet your burden in this case. Let's walk through just the highlights. Our digital evidence. While the digital evidence cannot tell us definitively who was behind the screen, we heard that a bunch. We know that to be true. What it can tell us is that Brendan Banfield and Juliana Perez Magales are more likely to be the ones to have set up Joe Ryan to come into the house to fake rape Christine on February 24th. There is no digital history, none, of Christine Banfield using dating sites, fetish sites, searching for pornography, talking to other men prior to the January inception of this scheme. Brendan told you that more than 10 years ago, there were incidents of affairs involving rough sex, but you have 0 evidence to corroborate that self-serving statement. Think about the 2 days of Mr. Lidsky's testimony for the defense and the 3 times that Detective Miller was called to this stand. If there was one scintilla of evidence that supported these claims of infidelity, of interest in sexual violence, don't you think you might have heard about it? The FetLife and Telegram contacts all occur on Christine's laptop, frequently while her phone is in use with something completely innocuous. You remember the frozen tickets, the Lululemon shopping, the family vacations the day before the murder?
I have like hair on my nose.
2 devices, 2 different people.
Hold on.
The FetLife and Telegram usage only ever occurred when Brendan Banfield and Juliana Perez Magales are in the home. Is it at all plausible that this woman wouldn't take advantage of an empty house to engage in her plans for adultery? That on the 2 weekends that her husband and the nanny are out of the house, those are the 2 weekends where we see 0 FetLife activity, 0 Telegram activity? Let's look at the chats themselves. Slide 1. How many potential targets were turned down by Juliana and Brendan because they wanted to meet in person first? Because they wanted to talk on the phone? Because they wanted pictures that included Christine's face? Does this make any sense for someone seeking a new relationship in an area of sexual exploration that would be new to them? Why would the real Christine Banfield have been concerned about taking these safety precautions? For that matter, why would the real Christine Banfield have been searching for someone who was willing to engage in knife play when she had a blood clotting disorder? Why would Christine use a phone from a gym bathroom, a photo from a phone taken in a gym bathroom when she has all of these far better pictures available? That one keeps stumping us. There are so many more whys, and I'm sure you have plenty of them in your own heads, but the answer is the same to all of these whys, because it wasn't Christine. It was Brendan Banfield with the help of Juliana. Let's talk about our physical evidence. You heard from Detective Leach, Dr. Kessler, Ms. McCarthy, Dr. Greenspoon, Ms. Colombo. She was up there forever with all those lab sheets. They gave us a million things to think about. Slide 4. Christine Banfield died as a result of 7 stab wounds to her neck. She suffered massive blood loss.
Oh, that's so scary.
Next, the knife Brendan used to kill her was a kitchen knife with an approximately 4-inch blade, the kind you use for chopping up vegetables. This was the knife that Joe Ryan brought because Anastasia asked him to. This was not the killing knife that Brendan Banfield had envisioned for his scheme. Next, Joe Ryan was shot twice. Once in the head by Brendan Banfield, incapacitating him. A second time by Juliana in the chest, tearing a large hole through his heart and lodging in his spine. His wounds were rapidly fatal, according to Dr. Kessler, and we saw that there was little to no blood from the chest wound. Iris Sally Graff told you that he would have been incapable of movement following that second shot. Next. We saw evidentiary confirmation of the affair. The semen stains on Juliana's bed sheets. We also saw the photos of Juliana's clothing moved into the primary bedroom when the search warrant was executed in October following the murders. We saw the photos of Brendan and Juliana together, both before and after the murders. Her photos from her Instagram, their family photos in the bedroom after the murder. We saw the records from the shooting range for the purchase of the gun and the training of Juliana to shoot it. Slide 8. We saw the deactivation of the automatic locking feature on the front door at 5:47 a.m. the morning of the murders, done from Christine's phone by the person who knew how the locking system operated, Brendan Banfield. We saw Christine's phone turned off at 6:46 a.m. and hidden in a drawer in a bar table in the kitchen. This is just not where you keep your phone. This is not where we heard that this woman kept her phone. This is not where a person who's about to engage in potentially risky behavior puts her source of help. A floor away, turned off, in a drawer, off to the side of the kitchen. Just doesn't make sense. We saw Brendan Banfield drive to McDonald's and hang out, waiting for the call from Juliana. We see their call records, 10 and 11, between Juliana, Christine's phone, which is turned off, Brendan, Christine's phone, which is turned off. They're creating a record. It's a plan. It is premeditated. We see this false attempt to check in on Christine so that they can tell the story to the police when they arrive, that they did everything they possibly could. Next, we see the lock at the top of the basement door that Brendan Banfield did not think to engage to protect his daughter. Even under his own version of this event, he agrees he didn't think about it.
Yeah.
He left his 4-year-old child in the basement with guns out, stranger in the house, and something happening that caused him to be concerned. We heard the 911 calls. We have a hang up at 7:47 with Joe moaning in the background, and then a 15-minute gap before anyone calls 911 back.
But why didn't they show up anyways?
15 minutes between when someone in that house thought the police should be there and when they finally asked for help.
Because 911 shows up at my house regardless,
We saw the body-worn camera and the photos from the scene.
whether it's a hang-up or not.
Blankets piled near the bodies. Brendan Banfield kneeling on this blue towel. The towel that has very little staining. Completely inconsistent with having been used to stop the flow of blood coming from Christine's neck.
Yeah.
We heard that the carpet was soaked through to the subfloor.
Wow.
We saw Brendan Banfield's handcuffs that he didn't use. Magazines full of bullets he didn't shoot, collected from him after the murders. And finally, the blood evidence. You heard from Lieutenant Giacchio and former Deputy Chief Bruce that it was Iris Dallygraff's report that finally pushed this case over the edge and brought the charges against Mr. Banfield months before Juliana decided to flip. That's how strong this evidence is. That's how reliable this evidence is. Ms. Dallygraff walked us through so many inconsistencies in this scene, proving that it had been manipulated. And you heard absolutely nothing from the defense about this evidence. Mr. Banfield gave you zero explanation for any of this evidence. Slide 15. They have provided no explanation for Christine's blood smeared on the right hand of Joe Ryan, leaving voids between the fingers. They have no explanation for the blood smeared across the top of the right onto the left, leaving that void on Joe Ryan's hand where they had been overlapping. Next. For that matter, you have no explanation from defense for how his hands came to be in that position, neatly folded on his chest, covering the bullet wound that penetrated his spine, immobilizing him.
Oh.
How could that have happened if you are to believe Mr. Banfield?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
There's been no explanation for the bloody hand-like smears on Joseph Ryan's jeans containing Christine Banfield's DNA. There's been no explanation from defense for how his jeans ended up bunched under his rear. Next slide. There's been nothing to tell us why a mixture of Joseph Ryan and Christine Banfield's blood, a mixture, could possibly have been on the inside of his waistband at the buttonhole, on the button, and on the zipper. Nothing from the defense to explain how Joe Ryan could possibly have manipulated his pants after being shot in the head, given that no other bleeding wounds were present. If his blood is on those pants, on that button, on that zipper, he was bleeding when they were touched. How could he, Joseph Ryan, have been the one to touch his button, his zipper, the waistband of his pants, to pull them down in that fashion? Brendan told you he never touched Joseph Ryan. And yet we have distinctive finger-shaped parallel lines on Joseph Ryan's arm and small circular stains consistent with blood having been dropped from above while Joseph Ryan lay on his back. Next. And then there's the blood on Joe's hip. Blood that traveled onto his body and then ran down to the floor with the assistance of gravity while he lay prone. It couldn't have come from his chest. That wound barely bled. He was laying down when blood was shed. Makes it pretty impossible that he stabbed Christine Banfield. Next. On the other hand, Brendan Banfield has cast off on his jeans. He has blood all over his hands. The blood stains on the backpack don't line up with the position of its contents. The blood on Joe's face is not consistent with his final position. And I'm sorry, I'm back to Joe's hands.
Yeah.
This scene was manipulated. Big. And it wasn't by Joe. It wasn't by Christine. And according to him, Juliana didn't do it. You have zero explanation from the defense as to how all of this blood evidence
All of this.
can be as it is. The Commonwealth gave you an explanation. Brendan Banfield and Juliana Perez Magalis colluded to kill Joseph Ryan and Christine Banfield. That makes sense. They created accounts, they chatted up potential victims, they got Joe Ryan into the house, and then they shot him. Brendan stabbed Christine.
Hey, while I have your guys' attention, if you could please make sure to hit the thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to my channel while you're at it. It's free and it helps the algorithm, and you'll be a part of something that's brand spanking new and really taken off in the last 2 months. So I appreciate it, and I hope you are having a great Friday. Thanks.
Let her bleed out on the floor, and then dripped, smeared, and wiped her blood on Joseph Ryan's body to make it look like he had attacked Christine. Then they called the police. Brendan let Juliana take the fall, and it took a little bit of doing, but here we are, and it's his turn to be held accountable. All of this evidence can leave you with no doubt that Brendan Banfield killed Joseph Ryan and Christine Banfield. That is the first element of the aggravated homicide statute. The hard work is done. Element 2, that the killing was willful, done with a bad purpose, intentional, and deliberate. There can be no question in your minds as to the intentionality of this act, the deliberateness of this act. You must also find that it was premeditated, that at some point before the killing, he decided to kill Christine and Joe.
Duh.
I believe that we presented you with that evidence as well. For one of the offenses, you find that he killed 2 people within 3 years. As we've identified, same day, definitely within 3 years. For the other offense, you find that it was 2 people killed during the same transaction or occurrence. They were both killed in the room as part of the same plot, by the same person, same transaction or occurrence. The second offense is for the use of a firearm in the commission of the murders. We know from our experts that Joe Ryan died of his multiple gunshot wounds, one of which came from Brendan. If you have any question about whether or not Brendan can be held responsible when Juliana also shot Joseph Ryan, you'll have instruction O, that is concert of action. So I'm going to read to you what it says. If there is concert of action with the resulting crime, one of its incidental probable consequences, then whether such crime was originally contemplated or not, all who participate in any way in bringing it about are equally answerable and bound by the acts of every other person connected with the consummation of such resulting crime.
Sorry, guys. I think I paused it on accident. Here you go.
Virginia makes it easy. Translate. If you think that Juliana Perez Magalis and Brendan Banfield were working together to kill Christine and Joseph Ryan, then Brendan can be responsible for Joseph Ryan's death, regardless of which bullet did the most damage. It's not a test of either or. They were working together. That makes him equally responsible. The last charge is the endangerment to Valerie. So while in his custody, that the defendant willfully or negligently caused or permitted the life of such child to be endangered. He made it out to be Juliana's idea, but he brought Valerie into that home. He left her in the basement, knowing that Joe Ryan was upstairs. He left her in the basement while he shot and killed Joe Ryan. He left her in the basement while he stabbed his wife. He could have locked the door. He could have done this on a day she wasn't home. He could have made arrangements for someone else to have her overnight, but that didn't work with his plan. So he's guilty of this offense as well. I appreciate, again, all of the attention that you've given. I appreciate, again, all of the hard work you're about to face. Please be thoughtful in your deliberations. But at the end of the day, I don't think that there can be any reasonable doubt that Mr. Banfield has committed each and every one of the offenses that we have put before you today. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Cross-examination, Mr. Chair. I'm
Thank
sorry,
you.
closing arguments.
Sharon, may I bring a bottle of water up in front of the?
You can.
Thank
I
you.
just need to get the microphone.
It's on. Yeah, it's on.
Sorry, guys. It's feeding time for the other 3 animals, the cat and the
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
other
Can you hear
2
me? That's been a little bit of a
non-dimensional.
problem, but I have it right on me at this point. I join in the Commonwealth's thanks for your attention, for the time that you put into this. I intend to present to you with highlights of many of the things that we went through, but I can assure you I'm not going to be going through the evidence that's already been moved in. And it took a long time, and you were very patient, and everyone's very patient. Is that better?
Did you just say we move to object or move the mic? Okay.
Can everyone hear that? Okay, I'll try to speak a little louder. Ladies and gentlemen, I join in thanking you for your time, for your attention. You could see over the nearly 3 weeks that everybody was attentive, and that's something that is something that's crucial to this process. And so I thank you. When my children were younger, I used to walk out of the house and tell them, I'm going to defend the Constitution. They didn't have any idea what that was, and oftentimes that became, okay, whatever, Dad. I was a prosecutor then. I was a prosecutor in Fairfax County. And what that meant to me was you presented a case, no matter who it was, you presented a case where you looked at all possibilities and you looked at all evidence to determine and to make sure that you were pursuing someone that the evidence would support. In this case, this was quite unusual. When we first met for the initial opening, I talked to you about some things that I thought you should look into. I thought that you should have an ear towards what is it that they're going to present as evidence. And even I was surprised that the evidence that ultimately was presented by the Commonwealth was actually from my case. The only people that were called to testify from the Commonwealth's case in chief were for body cam video, police officers, a couple of those, and Detective Terry Leach. And he was the one who identified all of the scene photos. He identified many of the pieces of evidence that were brought in. And he was able to talk a little bit about things such as the blood stains on the gun, the blood stains next to the bed. And what he told you, ladies and gentlemen, this was the extent of, I think, their testimony in their case, was that there are numerous things within this scene that we can see in pictures, but they were never tested. There are numerous things that became the centerpiece of the fantastic story that the Commonwealth tells, yet they were never tested. For example, if I were to have the opportunity to cross-examine, say, the chief detective of this case, I might ask, why wasn't there fingerprints done, or even DNA, of this gun safe that we hear about? We hear Juliana goes into the back bathroom and talks about getting a gun. It changes a little bit over time, but if someone had said they went to the gun safe, because we're talking about guns, we're talking about shooting, why wouldn't there be some sort of evidence to either corroborate or preclude that possibility? I asked Detective Leach, he said, well, it's really up to the forensic examiners. They make the decision. In looking at the scene, you'll notice in the body cam video that you're going to be reviewing, there's a point when first responders come in and you see Brendan kneeling down next to his wife, rendering aid. He just shot Joe Ryan. He testified yesterday, he puts the gun down to his right, which is where his holster is. And he also indicates to you in his testimony yesterday that he moves the knife away from Joe Ryan. The staining on the bed where my client put the gun for the first responders, because whenever there's any sort of a shooting, you have to make sure that you are nowhere near the gun in the event that you're perceived as someone who's hostile. He puts it to the corner of the bed, and the questions that remain were, did anybody ever test the blood on that gun? And you hear from Detective Leach, You can't do that. It was already test fired, and that would be potential for
I need
contaminant.
this light on.
Now, we didn't test the stains down on the floor where the gun was lying in before it went up on the bed. And we didn't test the gun, which appeared to be something that a serologist could just take a swab of. Yet there's some significance placed on the fact that there was a blood stain where the gun was when it had been sitting in a puddle. And so that actually was tested. In terms of the blood stain pattern analysis, which appears to be the most main focus of the case now, there are questions about many of the things that Ms. Sand says were never tested. And so the conclusions that are being reached in terms of Brendan Banfield did this, he did this, he did this, based upon whatever blood analysis, is oftentimes not considering the fact that it was never tested. We don't even know whose blood it was. Those kind of things are important. And so let's go back to defending the Constitution. When you are charged with presenting a case, and I chuckle a little bit when Ms. Sand says, we haven't proved anything, we haven't shown any evidence. All we've done is show evidence. All we've done is try to get the truth out there. My client doesn't have to testify, yet he gets up there and he tells a story. He's a philanderer. We can conclude that. It's horrible. It's a horrible situation to be in. He had affairs. He accepted that. He told you, ladies and gentlemen, exactly what was going on and exactly how it went. On cross-examination, he admitted to communications that were provided, which were letters between he and Juliana when she was in jail. This is about the truth. In the beginning, you heard our duty is about fairness, our duty is about being just, all those sorts of things. Yet you don't put on any of your detectives. She's referring to the expert that they have that I called. I called 3 times, and you saw his demeanor. He was very uncomfortable. Why would he be uncomfortable? Why would he have been uncomfortable talking about his work? And we dug for it, and he ultimately said, the executive summary and the data remained the same. The only thing that changed is Juliana Perez-Magalay's statement. Excuse me one second. So there, number one, that's the first time that anyone in this case, which was when I called him, conclusively said the entire catfishing theory changed upon her plea deal. So let's talk a little bit about confirmation bias, or I think we referred to it.
That's a wild plea deal.
When I was talking in closing about a rush to judgment. You've heard from detectives from Fairfax County. Detective Smith came up and she told you the catfish theory started within weeks of the event. She says, that's not how we do it. We look to the evidence and we follow the evidence. Seems like a pretty reasonable way to go. And that was something that I asked of pretty much everyone that was in some sort of investigatory capacity. That is the way cases go, is the evidence leads you where you're going to go. But lo and behold, what we find out is that that theory is being peddled by the 2 people in command staff, actually the 3 people in command staff that you also heard from. You heard from from Mr. Bruch, formerly Deputy Chief Bruch, that when Brendan Miller presented his findings, well, first of all, he said, I didn't agree with his report. And I said, well, what if any analysis of the raw data did you do in order to make that statement? I don't agree with this report. He said, well, it wasn't that. I don't know about the data, though he said he was a computer forensic PhD. He didn't take the time to do that. So I said, okay, well, did you ever have Detective Miller come in and walk you through it? Like show your work? Well, we talked about it quite often, but did you in fact have him go through everything that he did to arrive at his work? No, we didn't do that. He speaks to Lieutenant Giacchio at the time, who appears to have a direct line to him, obviating anybody else within the command staff. And what you'll see, and you'll see it in the evidence, there are emails where soon after Juliana Perez-Magalhaes changes her story, there are emails to Sergeant Ames. And you remember Sergeant Ames, he came to the stand based upon my subpoena and my calling him. And Sergeant Ames was not comfortable. And you can see any of these police witnesses are just not comfortable coming to the stand on my subpoenas and answering my questions. But he did answer them. And what you saw were emails. Those emails were essentially they were just kind of forwarding it up the chain so that his supervisors knew. And he was very candid about it. I was new. I wasn't sure how to deal with a situation like this. I'd never dealt with a situation like this. But what the situation was Detective Miller's executive summary being sent up the chain to Sergeant Ames, who was in a different division than Lieutenant Giacchio, saying there's different ways. There's 3 different emails that you'll see. Brendan Miller has got to look over this, and he's got to go line by line and explain how he got it wrong, things such as that. The final one is to Sergeant Ames. I can tell you that every single conclusion in his report was wrong. He's going to have to do something in order to, and it's kind of, essentially, he's going to have to change this report because it needs to conform with the proffer of Juliana Perez Maclais. That's twice now.
She got
2
a
different people that I
crazy
called to the
deal.
stand that essentially confirmed that everything changes when she comes in and testifies.
Well, no shit, Sherlock.
Let's get back to confirmation bias, rush to judgment. When you have people of, in a supervisory nature, you have a command staff chain of command, and the highest people are pushing you on your work product. That's why you look like the people that are up here testifying, because they're sitting on the fence. They're sitting on a razor, and neither side is good for them. But they came before us and they testified as to the truth. Detective Miller spoke the truth, and you could see it. Detective Miller, his work was concurred by Mr. Litsky, who you heard for quite often during this period of time. And it was peer reviewed and it was concurred by someone, a third party. You heard Detective Miller say, that's never been done in Fairfax County. You heard him say, I didn't ask for that peer review. He didn't know who asked for that peer review. Why would you want a peer review of something if it wasn't for it to change? So once again, not happy with that. Not happy with the work product. There's nothing to indicate in Detective Miller's background anything but stellar expertise. But he wasn't introduced as an expert for the Commonwealth. Now, this is where this whole theory went wrong. They discredited him, they disregarded him, and they didn't listen to him. And that's a problem. That's a problem for their case. Because there are things in digital forensics that had he been involved with the group that was talking to Juliana Perez Maclais, he would have been able to guide them in terms of this is where the digital forensics is in conflict with you. And you heard me testify, or I'm sorry, you heard me ask questions of many of these detectives who might have been involved. Did anybody ever challenge her? Were you present when she recanted for the first time? Well, we couldn't ask that of anyone because the detectives that were in the room have not been called. The detectives that were in the room, I didn't call. And so we don't know anything, but we heard Detective Miller, and he had viewed it, and he said, when I asked him, were there challenges to what was said? He said, no, it was pretty free-flowing. To me, that tells you, whatever the story you're telling us is great, because we're getting Brendan Banfield based upon that. Once again, confirmation bias. The first few weeks after the death of Christine Banfield becomes this theory of catfishing, which is what Juliana Perez Maclais provides to this. Now let's talk a little bit about digital forensics. And I'm not going to try to use the computer to show these to you because that was excruciating at times. But I think we've gone through it with significant enough detail that when you go back to look at the exhibits, and I'll tell you which exhibits if you wish to write them down, you're going to be able to see exactly what Mr. Litsky was saying. It's complicated. It's been complicated for me since the beginning, but it's not necessarily an easy grasp. But I would ask that you take the opportunity. You're going to have all this evidence to review this particular area. So some of you may have been asking about January, or may wonder about January 9th. That's a significant date in this investigation because that's the day when the Gmail account, called the suspect Gmail account, was started. Let's just look at how Juliana Perez Maclais managed this. Regarding the Gmail setup on January 9, 2023, Juliana told the Commonwealth that she was at the house with Brendan when she witnessed him create the Gmail account that was used to kick off the entire catfishing scheme. The Commonwealth took her at her word. The police didn't make any effort to corroborate her story. The one detective who stood up and said the evidence contradicted her story was transferred off the case. I think the words were from then Deputy Chief Bruce, "That guy will never work on another digital forensics case in major crimes as long as I'm here." He admitted it. There was no dancing around. He admitted it. So you have something that's in opposition to whatever the theory is that you're trying to peddle, and you're in the command staff, you're high up in the police department, you can just transfer him. And so it was from that point on, Detective Miller was of no benefit to the police because no one would utilize him once the stamp of disapproval had hit him. He was moved over to child sex. Juliana told the same story to you here in court, and it's a lie. The account wasn't created with Christine's phone. I'm sorry, the account was created with Christine's phone, not her laptop, which was the story that Juliana had told. Juliana wasn't even home. She hadn't witnessed anything. And you saw the presentation, and that would be, the evidence would be Exhibit 297, Exhibit 294, and Exhibit 295. They're all in relation. You'd be looking at the Google records, the T-Mobile records, and the subsequent map of where the location was. You heard from Mr. Litsky that the Gmail account is crucial. They all interact. The Gmail account is necessary to get the messages relating to the FetLife. And then the Telegram was created as part of this, whatever we want to call it at this point. Juliana made it up. She told the Commonwealth what they wanted to hear. And without question, they just took it as their story. She told this lie to secure herself a deal that benefited her. This one event relating to digital forensics is reasonable doubt, because every other event going forward requires Brendan, based upon her statement that she didn't have anything to do with it, she didn't know how to do the Gmail account, she didn't know anything about the setup, requires Brendan to be involved, or Christine. So let's look at this. There was a period of time, and you heard evidence of it, Brendan wasn't at home. January 23rd, there was a Gmail login at 11:22. That's Defense Exhibit 245. FetLife was accessed. In the communications, you heard Mr. Litsky opine as an expert that catfishing is not a scheme where one talks about their husband or talks about how's your experience on this site. Catfishing in the truest form of the government's theory is we just want to get someone on the hook, and then person's gonna come, and then we're gonna do what we did in there in the house. It's not consistent with catfishing. And you'll see, based upon the records relating to January 23rd, there was only one adult in the home at that time. And that adult was Christine Banfield. January 30th, there were two Gmail logins, 10:36 and 11:03. Exhibits Brendan Banfield 251 and Brendan Banfield 252. Brendan wasn't home. That can be shown. So there were two adults in the house, Christine Banfield and Juliana Perez Magalhaes. Juliana testified to all of you. She doesn't know anything about the Gmail. She doesn't know how to activate it. Well, somebody activated it that day. Somebody logged in twice. And there are two adults in the house. Either Juliana's lying again, and she did figure out how to do Gmail, or this was Christine Banfield. Digital forensics, oftentimes, for people who don't understand it,
Gmail
will say things like, well, isn't it possible this? Well, you see what happens when an investigator is looking into, trying to get attribution. They're looking at all sorts of different data facts in order to make a determination, make an opinion. It's not as easy as saying, well, isn't it possible this? There's more to it. And once again, digital forensics is not being given the strength that it is due. February 7th, 2023, Gmail login at 10:02 p.m. There's only two adults in the house. Brendan Banfield can be identified as being out of the house, and one of whom says she never did anything with Gmail. That's BB 257. It's been presented to you. You can recollect what it was that was said, but what we know is that Brendan was out of the house. What we know is that Juliana was there, and we know that Christine was there. February 13th, 2023. There are logins in the morning in the 7 a.m. hour. Well, what we know from digital forensics is that Brendan left at 6:05. And at 6:12, he was at Tyson's Corner based on his E-ZPass records. At 6:17, he was already to Alexandria. And soon thereafter, he was in Cheltenham, which is the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. They call it FLETC. Well, while he's on the road, actually, while he's
Hey, Donald,
at the
let's try
FLETC
to
Training
keep
Center
the
doing his training, there are two
conversation
logins.
around anything happening.
And there are two possible adults there.
Please and thank you.
Juliana Perez Magalhaes, who has said she doesn't know how to do that, and Christine Banfield. 2:17, you'll see Gmail logins at 11:19, 11:23, Exhibit 262, 263, same thing. Two possible adults. Brendan Banfield was out of the house. One said she never did anything with Gmail. A fact that I think is very important in the discovery that was provided, both to Juliana Perez
Maybe you know
Magalhaes
what to
as well as
do.
my client in preparation for her trial, FetLife
I have to grab a drink.
was in the discovery, but Gmail was never in focus. Never in focus. So her testimony, there's a comfort level with FetLife because she saw it in discovery. She didn't see the Gmail. And isn't that a coincidence that when asked any details, she says, I don't know. When she says, I don't know, for 5 or 6 questions, I hope you recall it, I recall it vividly. She said, if you keep asking these questions, I'm just going to say, I don't know. And she continued to do that. Were my questions challenging, like the kind of questions that a detective might do? No, we were just looking for details. We were looking for details because we wanted to try to iron out what are these situations here. She was unwilling. She didn't know, but she knew I was digging for something. But if you look at the way she testified to all of you in direct, she was led to a certain statement or a certain fact, and she stated it. In cross-examination, I asked anything about that. Do you know who was in the house? Do you know where you were? Were you on the phone on WhatsApp with Christine prior to that? Where were you located at the time that this call took place? I don't know. I don't know. If that's what it says, I don't know. You know, there were a series of similar answers. Once again, her role has grown in importance for this case. It's along with Deputy Chief Bruce and Lieutenant Giacchio, she's pushing it on through her deal. Now, one of the things that I talked to you all about and one of the lengthy cross-examinations was relating to a group of exhibits which were number 1 through number 69. And you'll see it was highlighted. I think you've seen it for a brief period of time, but we were moving along. Look at that. You'll see these are the personal letters that she would write to my client. And those personal letters, I believe, is the closest to the truth that you will have heard from Juliana Perez Magalhaes. She was in a situation which really was affecting her. And it would affect anyone. And she was telling you how she was feeling. She was telling you what she thought. There were things that were relevant to this case. They're trying to make me turn on you. I'm not going to do it. I don't have anything to say. There's nothing that I can do to help them with. And then you'd see letters as the time went on. I don't know if I can live like this anymore. I think it's better for me to end. And then as she gets closer to a preliminary hearing in April of 2024, you start to see real angst and real worry. And they're coming to her and asking her if she'll testify against my client, because that's what they wanted from the beginning. She was a pawn in trying to get to my client. You'll see this timeline in these letters. It goes toward July. July was the date of her first trial. And you'll see, and I'm not suggesting what she's saying about her lawyer is correct, but it was obviously something that was on her mind, and she didn't feel like she had the support. At that point, if you think about it, the only support that she was having was from Brendan. Brendan was not arrested. Brendan was there communicating with her. Brendan's mom was actually supporting her lifestyle in the jail in terms of commissary, things like that, and also supporting her by having paid for a lawyer. Around August, you'll see in these letters, it gets to be real despair. And then you can almost see hope just drop right away from her when she hears that Brendan's arrested. And then she testified. She went into the hospital from October 13th to October 23rd. And as soon as she's released and back to the jail, the deal is done. She's told, if you testify against him, we'll recommend time served disposition. She can go back to Brazil, be with her mom, create her new life. And we know a little bit about the new life that she's planning on creating. And you have it in the documents that are before you. She's been negotiating with people who are connected to Netflix. She's been negotiating with people who are connected to Hulu. She's been talking to every other news media at first to try to see if they just put $50 into her commissary. But then she realized, hey, there may be something here. She's admitted she's going to try to write letters. She's going to try to write a book. She wants to have a documentary. She wants to have a series. And she's about to sign or about to agree when her lawyer steps in and says, don't sign that. And so around March of 2025, you see negotiations essentially end. The number was in the area of $25,000, and it was going to be sent to her mother in Brazil. It's a lot of money in Brazil. And so where's the downside for her? Where's the downside for her? I mean, there are plenty of people who would make that decision, given the circumstances, given you're 2 weeks from the trial, when your attorney asked for a continuance. And oddly enough, he was asking to find a digital forensic examiner. If they'd done that, maybe that wouldn't have happened. Maybe they would have realized how strong the digital forensics examinations are. Her entire story has been bought and paid for. First, with her freedom, and then now a little bit on the back end. There's a jury instruction here that says something about corroborated, uncorroborated testimony, and you should be careful of it. Now, how did they try to corroborate her? So isn't this funny? They're trying to bolster the witness who's the centerpiece of their entire case. Well, they found something when my client was arrested on his laptop that said they'd just gotten vinyl light windows in December. So sitting in the meeting with whomever, they say, can you tell us anything about these vinyl light windows? They're triple paned, probably really good. I wasn't there, I don't know. But the story she gave was that, fantastic. We got the triple pane windows because Brendan wanted to make sure you couldn't hear a gunshot in the bedroom. And and she says, he asked me to go outside and scream to see if the windows, and she says, I'm not going to do that. So she ended up staying inside and saying Brendan went out and screamed. Well, you heard the test. This gentleman from Vinyl Light Windows came in, they trotted him up there, and he said, yeah, we met in January. That was when we first talked about this, and it wasn't just the windows for the bedroom, which is what Juliana said. It was the full windows. And then you saw an artifact on Facebook that is Christine Banfield actually talking to her neighbors about the numerous vendors that they had been working with to try to get a quote from December 2021. So this is well before Juliana came on the scene, but it's an opportunity to try to make her appear in the know, to corroborate her. Well, that was a disaster, and that didn't work. And you heard the gentleman, what the life cycle of order to quotes to all those things, they were all done well before any sort of relationship started with Brendan. Confirmation bias. Rush to judgment. It continues on. Detective Leah Smith tells us the catfish theory was told to them within 2 weeks. She goes on to talk about the theory and investigation and the direction it was going in. During a period of time soon thereafter, Detective Miller tells of his transfer against his will because he was advised he'd never work on major crimes cases again. Sergeant Ames, after receiving communications from Lieutenant Giacchio, immediately sends it up the chain. Could be just the way he does things, or it could be read those emails. hey, I'm being asked to do this. I need some support here. When you have a theory that gets pushed from non-investigative command staff, and you have a theory that the investigators look at, then you create something called tunnel vision. And that tunnel vision, if you're following what essentially are orders, is to the exclusion of any other evidence, any other theory, such as
Just making sure she lays down.
maybe this is a rekindling of previous fantasies, and the guy who brought the knife to the house is the stabber. You can see how that theory is going to be pushed aside. And you can see how that's not very noteworthy for purposes of media or other attention.
It's okay.
Once again, rush to judgment.
Just lay down, Christmas. Don't bite me.
Catfishing. If you're
There.
catfishing, meaning you're trying to get the one guy, Joe Ryan, to come to the house so that you can do this gruesome act.
I have to hide my hands because the cat will bite them.
Why are you saying anything about, I can't have marks on my face or my body? If you're catfishing, why would that matter? It doesn't make sense.
That
It's
is
inconsistent.
my hands.
However, if you're interested in dabbling in this lifestyle or getting back into it, however you want to say, then that makes perfect sense. There's 9 different conversations on FetLife with different people. And you have all of the FetLife communications. And you can see, why would you have discussions where you're bringing things like no marks, anything like that? All you need is one if you're going to carry out what the government's theory is. Why would you give anyone details about your work or your home or your husband if you were catfishing? I mean, if it's truly catfishing, you're looking for the biggest pile of people that might be considered. If you're telling someone that you have a husband and you want them to come over to the house, why would anybody come? You're losing the potential people that you might want to have there who are violent or, love to do all the things that Juliana has said. Why would you do that if you're catfishing? It doesn't make sense. On February 13th, 2023, why would there be generic research on secure apps for communications? In fact, why was there even a need to transition to Telegram? Because if you're on FetLife, it's clear there are FetLife communications. And so in the world of catfishing, if you think about it, you want to do as few things that can get you caught.
Maybe can
So what was the lead to Telegram? It doesn't make any sense. In fact, this whole theory doesn't make any sense. And the only way the government can make any sense of it is if Juliana Perez Magalhaes adopts their story once again. As late as February 19th, which would be 5 days before Christine Banfield's death. Under the government's theory, there were dates that were being explored with 5 different FetLife users. Why? If Joe's already coming, why? It doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Juliana Perez Magalhaes is doing what probably anyone would do who's from another country, who comes here for an adventure, which is what au pair exchange is. It's essentially a cultural exchange. And the idea is you get to live in the country and you get to live like people in the United States. And then you go back at the end of your time. She knew at the point when she was hospitalized to the point of sickness as a result of what was going on in her life that she had to do something. And the Commonwealth and the police broke her. She turned down a misdemeanor according to her in January, on January 1st, and you'll see it in the communications. She turned down a misdemeanor, and all she had to do was testify against Brendan. In July, you hear her recounting her meeting with her lawyer, where her lawyer floats the idea, what about a manslaughter, time served, and you don't have to testify against Brendan. She agreed to that. That was never what they were talking about. That was never what they wanted to do. You heard from Sergeant Matt Nilsson, who briefly came in, and he was one of the homicide people during the time of the killing of Christine Banfield. He's since rotated out to another division. But he came in and he said the whole goal of arresting Juliana was to flip her against Brendan. Once again, further corroboration. We knew it. We saw it from her letters. And now you have someone who was involved saying, yeah, that was what we wanted to do. That's why we did it.
We're questioning that, right?
They broke her. In talking about the blood work and the blood testimony, it was suggested by the Commonwealth that we hadn't proven anything. The Commonwealth had not shown anything. Well, I beg to differ. You heard from Leanne Singley. Leanne Singley is an expert. She's an expert with tremendous credentials, and she's an expert in truth in terms of what she's allowed to say, what she can say, what she can't say. And she speaks to you in the language of bloodstain pattern analysis. She's not talking about possibilities. She's talking about
Well, for you,
facts.
just
She's
so
a
you know,
scientist.
she has 2 cat towers
Her counterpart from the Commonwealth was willing to entertain any
in the
possibilities.
house.
In fact, questioning of her was,
That's
well, isn't it possible this? Isn't it possible this? Isn't it possible this? And oftentimes you would hear her respond, well, that wouldn't be something that I would have expected to see, which is a very interesting statement if you think about it. What is it that she's expecting to see? Which makes you wonder, who's telling her what she should be seeing? And does it fit the narrative? So let's go to Leanne Singley. She tells you,
This is on 1.5 times speed, guys.
of the account of the events, Ryan stabbed Christine in the neck. Brendan shot Ryan in self-defense. Brendan rendering aid to Christine. Ryan moved toward Brendan and grabbed Brendan's arm. You see that in the videos. And Juliana shot Ryan to end the threat. What Leanne Singley tells you is all of the blood evidence supports this. Ryan brought the knife. That'll be Commonwealth's Exhibit 10. The knife has blood on it with Christine's DNA on the blade and Ryan's DNA on the handle. Ryan has Christine's blood on his hand as well as a puncture wound, which the medical examiner says is consistent with the knife. And if you look at the knife, it's described in the certificates of analysis as testing underneath the handle by the edge of the blade. And if you look at the marks on Joseph Ryan's hand, the medical examiner states that these wounds are consistent with that knife. Which reminds me, the medical examiner also said that Joe Ryan was capable of movement. And you can recall your own notes on that. That was very clear, which is in absolute conflict with Ms. Groff and is in absolute conflict with the Commonwealth's theory. She further goes on to say, Ryan has the blood on his hand shows his hand was closed when the blood was deposited. That's that closed fingers we were talking about. That's what the Commonwealth was talking about in terms of having nothing going in between the fingers. That's holding a knife. That's how that happens, because you're holding it very rigid in order to do that. The bloody handprint on Ryan's thigh is consistent with him touching his own leg with his bloody hands. That's Ms. Groff. The stains on Brendan's jeans and shirt are what you expect you would get while giving aid to Christine. And we see it. We see it on the body-worn camera. We see it on the still shots. He's leaning down. He's down there on his knees. Interestingly, Ms. Groff says, all I saw was his hands around Christine's neck. I don't know that that's not accurate, but that's probably not what was really going on there, because everyone else said he was rendering aid. The police witnesses, who are more objective than the expert witness for the Commonwealth, all say that he was rendering aid.
The fact that they haven't come to a verdict yet.
Testimony by Ms. Groff and the ME indicated that Ryan could move after the gunshot. And what's most important is that there's a DNA mixture of Christine and Ryan on the arm of the jacket where Brendan said he was grabbed. 3 times. 3 times when he was being told by the first responders go into the bathroom. He said, they're asking, is he okay? He hit me on the right side under the shoulder blade by the arm. He said that. Then in the ambulance, you'll hear that. He says, when they're asking, are you okay? Are you okay? I don't think I'm injured, but he did hit me on the backside of my jacket. In the ambulance, they grabbed the jacket. And then when he was in the hospital, the doctor asks, and he says, he hit me on the back, but I'm not injured. The critical part of that is that the DNA mixture of Christine's blood and Joe Ryan's blood on the jacket was, if you were listening to my client yesterday, he tells you that that was Joe Ryan after he shot him. That mixture of blood with Christine and Joe Ryan himself had to be after Joe Ryan had stabbed Christine in the neck. And that's the way her blood would get on him in order to be able to get the back of my client's jacket. That's what the Singley says. And that's why the Commonwealth is so intent on saying this had to have been on the floor, this had to have been on the bed. But there's no evidence to support that. There's a story to support it, but there's no evidence to support that. The evidence in terms of what happened in that room, and the crucial evidence is spot A on the back of the jacket, and you have it in evidence, and you also have it under Commonwealth's Exhibit 160, 161, and 167. Now, let's just talk a little bit about the prosecution's evidence. Brendan's DNA is not on the knife. That's also supported by those same forensics the reports. He doesn't have any injuries to his hands. That was confirmed by EMTs. In fact, poor officer, I'm sorry, the young man who was 1 year on, I forget his name now. He was brought up to introduce his video and then was asked, well, why'd you let him wash his hands? And you can see my client, for a period of probably 40 minutes, is literally walking around, you know, in a trance from what he was just involved with. And he was walking around with blood all over his hands. And it was only after he was told that his wife had died, and the emotions that come from that, where he was blowing his nose, wiping his eyes, and doing all those things, it was offered for him to wash his hands. But that appears to be some sort of a horrible thing that this officer allowed him to do. And it was even an insinuation that my client was trying to cover something up. This was 45 minutes later. It wasn't as though he went into the bathroom and did it right there after being removed from rendering aid. Brendan's DNA does not show up anywhere on Joe Ryan, which is consistent with what he told you, which is that he never touched Joe Ryan. There's no indication that there was any sort of movement. And frankly, what's the possibility, I guess I'll use the same word, that a 185-pound man would have been moved if he was otherwise dead? It's not an easy task. And Brendan Banfield's an athletic guy, but I don't think he's up to moving 200 pounds in that sort of way. So that's an absolute red herring in this. When
Mr. Kuros, do you have quite a bit more? I just want to give you a chance.
Probably about another half hour.
Yes, let's go ahead and take our morning recess for 15 minutes. Please don't discuss the case at this time and not do any outside research.
Actually, that lines me up perfectly.
Oh, I can do 1.75. They don't talk like this.
All right, thank you. Mr. Kuros, you can continue.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we left off in the discussion of the bloodstain pattern analysis. And what was an interesting moment in terms of the experts was when there was talk of bloodstain inside the zipper and around that area. But if you look at the DLI report, which is number 169, you'll see in that report, they were looking actually for touch DNA. They weren't actually looking for blood staining. They identified blood staining, but the whole point of it was to find Brendan Banfield's touch DNA on the inside of Joe's pants, based upon some theory that he was either pulling the pants off or moving them or something like that. And that was one of the reasons why they went to a private lab to try to do that, and it didn't pan out.
Oh, let's listen to the counter argument.
In terms of the evidence on the bloodstain pattern analysis, let me just do a rundown. With regard to the knife, it was identified as being bloodstained. Leanne Singley said that.
Since we know where his argument is. Oh my God, did she have like a follow-up?
All right, just a couple of last words. Mr. Carroll has a really interesting recollection of the evidence. It certainly doesn't match ours, and I'm guessing it doesn't match yours. FYI, the lab for the code was 165, not 167. And the DLI lab, it doesn't say anywhere on it that it was touch DNA. It was blood that they tested. Juliana did not repeatedly say that she didn't know how to work Gmail. She said that she did not create the Gmail account, that was Brendan. Giaccio and Bruce had the catfish plan, and they peddled it and pushed it to everyone. I don't think that's at all what came out. I think that Mr. Carroll is trying to focus on the HR woes of the Fairfax County Police Department to distract you from the fact that the evidence actually supported that theory, and that he has provided you, and his client has provided you with absolutely nothing to refute that theory. Why was there so much discussion and disagreement over the digital evidence? Because it could never be that smoking gun. You all heard it from their expert. You can't put someone behind that screen unless you're sitting next to them. So as much as we want it to tell the story here, as much as we want it to be the perfect evidence that proves beyond a reasonable doubt that this thing had to happen, the digital evidence just isn't that. We wish it were, but it's not. And Detective Miller did nothing wrong, and Mr. Lidsky did nothing wrong. They just told you the truth. And the truth is that they can tell you what a device was doing, but they can't tell you who was using the device. Juliana Perez Magalhaes' testimony was bought and paid for. Yes, she pled guilty to a lesser offense in exchange for her testimony. Ms. Chrysler made sure you knew that from the get-go. Juliana talked about that. She explained for her reasons why. Nothing was hidden. After her sentence, it sounds like she might have the opportunity to make, what, 10 grand off of telling her story. She said that she would use that to support her family. And then what? She's gonna work as a nanny? I mean, she's a convicted murderer. Do we really think that it is so reasonable that she made up this complete lie for 10 grand? Really? If this version is correct, coming from Mr. Banfield, then she would be set free. She would be as not guilty as he would be. So she's gonna give up that shot for 10 grand? I just don't buy it. Whose story is more credible here? Juliana's or Mr. Banfield's? Whose version does the rest of the evidence support? The defendant took the stand and he lied. And he lied about collateral matters. He told you that he had a big career-defining work meeting the morning of the murder. And then you heard from his boss who said, no, he didn't. He lied. He said that he and Juliana did not have a plan to kill Christine at the time that they went to the shooting range. Well, he said, not at that time. If he's lying about the things that don't matter, how can you believe a single word he said? And ladies and gentlemen, you have to do that in this case, because without some alternate theory, the Commonwealth's evidence is uncontroverted. So you got to pick one. Juliana, Mr. Banfield. Whose story does the evidence support? All of that blood, the DNA, to some extent, the digital forensics, the physical evidence collected at the scene. That's what you can rely on. Don't rely on his narrative and his recollection of the evidence. For that reason, don't rely on mine or on Ms. Chrysler's. Rely on yours. It is your collective recollection of the evidence that you have heard that is controlling. You know what was said here. You know what the evidence is. We trust you to make the decision. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Members of the jury, this is an important case to both the Commonwealth and the defendant. In order to reach a verdict, each of you must agree on that verdict. In other words, the verdict must be unanimous. The first thing you should do when you get back to the jury room is to select a presiding juror. The role of the presiding juror is to see to it that the deliberations are conducted in an orderly and businesslike manner, that they are conducted only in the jury room when all members of the jury are present, and that each juror has the opportunity to fully and fairly express his or her views. It is rarely helpful for jurors upon first entering the jury room to take a straw vote, or for any juror to make an emphatic expression of his or her opinion in the case, or to announce a determination to stand for a certain verdict. To do so before all jurors have had an opportunity to consult with one another and exchange.
Okay. Just making sure we're still on verdict watch, or else it's, yep. So they have been dismissed for the night, and they will be back on Monday at 10 a.m. So with that, I will let you know that if you stick around to the end of the stream, you will be rerouted to a stream that I will be a part of beginning at 8 p.m. And it's a friend stream that he does on Friday nights that is in preparation for another stream that begins around 9:30, which I will also be on. And I plan on doing a members only tomorrow. I mentioned that earlier this week in a post that I created. I would expect it to go out around noon or between noon and 2. I need to talk some things over with my partner and see what time would work best. But I was thinking of showing my videos and my photos and sharing my raw commentary on my recent trip and some things that I have planned for the channel. So I would love it if you guys came over to Shizzy's channel at 8 p.m. for the show. And if not, I will see you guys on Tuesday at 3:30 p.m. Remember, Tuesday through Friday, beginning at 3:30, usually end up going until 7:30. All right, y'all. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. I hope to see you around either tomorrow or one of tonight's streams, and have a safe weekend. Thank you, Patriotic. I'll be in touch sometime this weekend, and we'll get something set up. Okay, guys, have a good one, and I hopefully will see you, like I said, tomorrow for members only, or for one of my guys' streams tonight. All right, y'all. See you later. Bye-bye.